Hi, chat. Excellent noise there. Hello. It's me. It's Tuesday. You know what that means when I look like this. It's an art stream. Hi. I'm still wiggling things around on my desk a little bit. I, just got back to my house a little bit ago. Around, half an hour ago. I've been out today. Because, as I mentioned yesterday that the power was going to be out at my house today. As you can tell, it's back on. But they were, messing around with some stuff that required it to be off, so I was at somebody else's house so that I could still have power. So that I could still, be a digital little freak like I am. I could still watch YouTube videos and listen to Vocaloid music on my phone. And such and things, and yes. But anyway, I hope we're all having as good of a day as we can. We were late to stream today because I was eating. I needed to get food in me. Oh boy, but alright. Let's see here. Lee got first, Mercury Lev got second. Good job, you two. Hell yeah. We're gonna be doing another ArtFight stream today. Going through the ArtFights. Making sure that those little fuckos. I know how sentences work. And I don't just default to saying little fuckos for some reason. But I have a lot of revenges I need to do. I know I mentioned before I got attacked by Moths. I need to get one of their characters. I also got chat. I added stream original OC. Original character. The pathetic anglerfish to ArtFight. Which it's a character I literally made while on stream. I made the pathetic anglerfish, of course. This was a few years ago now, I think. After I finished the game Dredge, I had some time left over, so I pulled up MS Paint and I drew some fish in MS Paint. And the pathetic anglerfish now, you can see here, has well, that's rude. The pathetic anglerfish has an emote here. It's our beautiful little guy. We also have it's one in the Discord as well. The Discord server has all of the fish that I made that day. That explains him? Yeah! I like that little guy. They've grown a big part in my heart. Here, let me get a big version of this beautiful fish. Should I just pull up the original art itself? Like, the finished one? I think I can, if I can find that. The full image here. Where is my file? I remember that I made a folder semi-recently. There it is! You know how sometimes, a folder thumbnail will change depending on the image that you added last to it? I hadn't updated it in a while, but I forgot that I put a new one in there the other day. Like a couple days ago, so I was looking for the wrong image. Like a fool. Like a fucking fool. Where is it? There it is. The file name is literally called Fishy Fish Fish, so I don't know why I was missing it. This is the original image here. That's what it is. It's all these guys. These beautiful creatures that we have made in MS Paint. Our beautiful creatures. If we look closer here, we're gonna zoom in. I'm gonna zoom in on these guys. Such characters as the Sad Flounder. That's it in the corner. That's fish in the spot. Light. It is fucking crying. We also have the Mack mackerel. I still have... Where's, 1 second. unhide, there we go. The Mack mackerel right here. The Mack mackerel has a second half over here. This is the other half of the Mack mackerel. You may know these guys as left fish and right fish. On my Discord emotes, Lee loves to react with left fish and right fish. This is the front view of the Mack mackerel, who is my horrible fish son. This is my horrible fish son. If I zoom in here on my horrible fish son. I just really want to zoom in on the shinies of the teeth. I just find that really funny that I did that. It's my beautiful little guy there. There's also this starfish here. Starfish is like the least good of the characters, in my humble opinion. Down here we have, of course, the googly guy and the Dumbo guy. These guys, they're not publicly dating, but you know, there's an implication within them. I'm saving you for last, buddy. This is my fish wife. This right here is my fish wife. I think she was the first one that I drew. It's my fish wife. She's trans. As I'm not into women, my justification for her being my fish wife is that when we got married, she wasn't a woman, but she later realized she was. And I support her in her journey. We just haven't gotten divorced yet. Even though, like, we're not really a thing anymore, you know? It's a whole hullabaloo. And then here he is, of course. This is the pathetic anglerfish. This is the icon themselves. The pathetic anglerfish uses all pronouns, by the way, just so everybody's aware. Look at this beautiful creature. The pathetic anglerfish has nostrils. Whoops, wrong thing. Pathetic anglerfish does have nostrils. Yes. Does that make sense? No. Does have little beautiful lips. Does have weird little eyebrows. Biggest eyes you've ever seen. Little fins. And of course we have the angler itself here, the lure. That has the Twitch smiley face here. There's that motherfucker. I have to scroll so long to get to that. Where is it? There it is. You know, this guy. It's that guy. He's in this guy. You can see him. Wee. That's what that is. I think that you can make that like a generic smiley face as well. I think that also makes sense. Or different emojis. Emoticons. I think it can do different faces. I think it could be anything. That beautiful little thing there. I think that's wonderful. That's the pathetic anglerfish lore. Any pronouns and then that little smiley face can change. Alright, let me move myself back to the center. I'm the center of attention over here. Boy oh boy, let's see here. Let me pull up the birthday list. Let me see what we got. I made a noise there as I failed to drink my drink. Okay. Oh, I learned a thing earlier that I haven't put on the list yet, mostly because I learned it like 20 minutes ago. And I didn't turn my computer on until like 5 minutes before starting stream, maximum. But let me double check this. Was it like non-binary people day? What was it? Yeah, today is International Non-Binary People's Day. And that's pretty cool. 'Cause that's me. Whoa! That's me. Let me add that to the list. International Non-Binary they spell non-binary with a hyphen in it. I'll honor that. I'll be like Spider-Man. You know? I'll respect the hyphen because it means I'm like Spider-Man. But yeah, it's non-binary People's Day. That's pretty epic. It is also... We have quite a few here. It is also Tonio and Sonika's birthday, both of those being Vocaloids. Also the birthday of Rin Hiryu from My Hero Academia. It is also the media release anniversary of 2 movies and a TV show. The TV show being Johnny Bravo, the movies being X-Men, the 2000 movie, you know, them, and the Blair Witch Project, which is pretty fucking big. Hell yeah. Good. Nice. Tomorrow, on Wednesday, the 15th, will be the birthday of... Oh, there's a typo in this one! Ah! There we go, I fixed it. Tomorrow is the birthday of Nichigaoka Mashiro, aka Cure Prism, from Hirogaru Sky Pretty Cure. And then Hocus Pocus, the movie. You know, the movie with the witches and all. Those guys. Funny to think of that movie coming out in July. It's such a Halloween movie, that's wild. And then the one that I accidentally had a typo in. Lag Train, the song by... I've never said this person's name out loud before, let me double check all of the syllables. Inabaku Mori? Featuring Kai Yuki. Very popular song there. I literally... one of my tabs that I have it open right now, because I had this open before... I think I was going to watch this before bed, and then I turned my computer off because I got too tired. And then I turned my computer on and all my tabs restored. So the first thing I saw when I reopened this was a parody of Lag Train. Well, I guess, is it parody? I guess cover. Have you guys been seeing all of these fucking Caw covers? Caw from Deltarune? Covers of various songs? I keep getting them recommended. I've listened to 2, and I fucking love them. They're so silly. Was it Igaku? One of the, I've been getting exclusively Vocaloid ones. I'm assuming that there's covers of other stuff as well. Because I see people in the comments referencing the Caw versions of other songs. But I've only been getting Vocaloid ones. I think it was the Igaku cover that had fully did the syllables and shit. They somehow sentence mixed the Caw to be singing in Japanese. Was it Igaku? It was one of the fucking songs, or was it Goddish? It was Goddish! Igaku's the other one that I've listened to. I've listened to Igaku and Goddish. It was the Goddish cover. My bad. Shout out to both of those songs, by the way. I love both of those songs so much. Incredibly good songs. I guess, to round out the conversation of Vocaloid songs in relation to Deltarune, I'm a big fan of Jamie Page, as I think most people in the Vocaloid sphere are. I don't think I've ever seen somebody dislike Jamie Page. I think everybody's pretty big on the Jamie Page hype train. Everybody's been super into... I forget Jamie's pronouns immediately. I was so confident, and then I started doubting everything. Oh, and I misspelled Jamie when I looked it up. Okay, I was right. She. I truly was just wait, what if she's non-binary and I forgot? No, she. But, I think everybody's been loving her shit since Bird Brain, I think. At least since Bird Brain. Some people got on that train way before. And I respect them. I unfortunately only found the stuff after it became cool. After it became popular. But does not negate how fucking great her music is. And I do think Cadmium Colors is one of my favorites of hers. It's probably my second favorite. Dance Delightful. I fucking love Dance Delightful. Granted, I think those two have like a very strong fighting each other for dominance of my favorite. But there was a Cadmium Colors parody that had Deltarune shit shoved in it, and it has not... I found that last night, like, at midnight, and it has not left my head since. I've literally all day I just been, Deltarune Chris is non-binary, Deltarune Susie is a girl that's mean, Deltarune Rosie has a hat, I think, Deltarune Lancer spent in Queen Birdly. It has been in my brain on fucking repeat. I love Deltarune Lancers. I just like the listing all the characters. It fucking made me lose my goddamn mind. It's so fucking good. I love it. I'm going to re-listen to it a million billion times more, just in general. But alright. That all aside, I think we can go over to doing some ArtFight. I'm pulling up my files now, so I guess I'll keep talking like this first. I have all the ones I was working on yesterday. Obviously, I haven't made any progress since my power has been out all day today, and I didn't really get much done after stream yesterday. So my opportunities to work on it has been pretty much nothing. Do we want to do that, or do I want to pull up the other characters? The other people's profiles here, and see if I can find new characters with you. I think that's probably something I should do on my own time, probably. Whee! But let's see here, where do we want to start with? I guess what I can obviously start with here is telling Sans that while I've appreciated his tunes, he may now take his leave. He may now go away. And instead, I can replace the music with our little playlists that we listen to. And I can also hit the button that brings you guys over to here. You guys remember this is what we were working on yesterday. We did Akari, Chloe, Oleander, and Salem. Are all the people I was working on. That song went crazy! And then I have all these guys over here, who are all revenges that I need to do, that I haven't really started on. And then of course I have, like, at least 2 more revenges that I need to get ready for. One second, I'm pulling tabs open. Making sure I'm getting all the, people, because I need to revenge Mizost. And I need to get revenge on the anglerfish, which was included in a mass attack by Namirev? Unsure how to pronounce their name. But we'll see. Okay. Our beautiful little creatures here that we can get to. I mean, I feel like shading is a great warm-up. But who do I want to shade? I mean, it should probably be Oleander and Salem, right? Once again, this is the revenge I've been needing to get back to the longest. Moving things around here. Okay. How do I want to do this shading? I mean, purple's a tried and true classic, right? Let me just do as like a fun test here. We'll pull up this. We'll go to this. I'll just do 300 and I'll go like, wow, oh, I'm on the wrong guy. Purple's a pretty tried and true shading color, right? But I've been doing a lot of blue lately. I've been doing the blue specifically for the Deltarune stuff. Yeah, that's what I thought. I think it works more so for the Deltarune specific guys. When I, like, do the colors intentionally to lean toward it. I think purple is, in general, like, the best one to go for. I mean, I could also try, like, a different type of blue. I like how warmer this is. There's also the idea of doing orange. Maybe like a darker orange. Yeah, I didn't think that that would really work. Because I think with warmer toned characters, it's better to do cooler toned shading and vice versa. Not necessarily all the time, but, you know. As a rule of thumb, you know? So I think, once again, we start with Oleander. Let's get into here. What's up, fucko? Alright, which bit do I want to start with? I mean, I suppose we can start with the eyes. It's a great way to always start here. Okay, over to this. The way that I do shading, I tend to do at least 2 layers of shadow. Let's make this a little... I'm remembering where all my hotkeys are. It's like, okay. I'll have like one sort of vibey, that's not really the right term. One soft bit of shading and one hard bit of shading. And we'll go over to this brush for the hard shading, is what I tend to do. I believe these are default brushes. It's a round mixing brush and then paint and apply. I use round mixing brush for my harsher shading. Yeah. I think I'm gonna redo this one. Now let me try something here. Okay, yeah, that's not really doing much for me. Maybe. Okay, let's try delete this layer for a second. Let's make a new one. Maybe, like, coming in from the side a bit more. Because I feel like what I've been doing, what I did those last couple attempts made the eyes look a little too flat. And I'm like... I feel like that's better, yeah. I do also need to remember to do some stuff with the glasses here. Let me... get Oleander. Yeah, that's what I thought. I wanted to make sure that the, like, the white glint of them wasn't, like, solid. And I'd forgotten to do that. I did not. Let me once again, let's try something. Let's try something. I don't know if I'll keep it. Then overlay. I don't dislike that. It's a very... it's not a very big detail, but I like it a lot. So he can keep that. Another thing I'm gonna do here is go over again to this brush. Or to this color, rather. I think maybe go over to my marker. Oh, not that big. This up here. And then hard light. Yeah. Check down here. Maybe, you know what, while I'm on this layer, give those to you as well. Dip, dip. What's up, fucko? Let's see here if I can maybe do like... Or is it better to do it... One of these days I'll finish a sentence. Today's not that day. Okay. Let's see here. Let's get like a smaller... About something like that. I don't dislike that, but I think maybe I'll wait until I have more shading so I can see it fully in context. I think will be good. Ba-ba-ba. Alrighty. Go for the antenna next. Now, I believe... yeah, you have, like, this gradient. Ba-ba-ba. Double check here. It does seem that the gradient goes both ways. That's fun. That's less pressure on me, baby. I think we're gonna go for it on the bottom. Like this. Well, I nailed it on one of the antenna. Okay, let's get rid of that one. Let's try that again. Ba-ba-ba. And then I'm gonna come back here with like smaller... bit of a smaller brush here for these little bits as well. Lovely. And I believe that's all the gradient you got, right? Yeah. Not a gradient anywhere else. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm just gonna merge that layer with the antenna. Ba-ba-ba. Now we're gonna do a bit of shading here. Back to this. Ba-ba-ba, starting off with our... Okay. Because I do want to at least some degree here. I would like some sort of rim lighting. So I might just like... How about this? Go through... Sort of like that. And like multiply. Nice, nice. I want that a bit darker. I don't dislike that. Okay, part of me also wants to go back through here. Like, do a little bit like this. Considering my options here. So I have a couple. I think I'm gonna go for just sort of this. I guess it doesn't really happen there. You know what, we don't- how about we just don't put that on the eyes as well, so they pop even more? So now we have the shading like that as well, just sort of over everything. And then part of me is also considering doing like a second layer of this. Like a bit more, like even just like darker further in the middle. Something to like this effect. Just to sort of see how this looks. I don't dislike that. But part of me wonders if maybe I'll just do that on each layer anyway. Is I think what I'll do. So okay. I'm gonna hide a bunch of these layers. The ones that I haven't shaded yet. Let's just fully hide Salem. Nothing on that layer? Seems so. Alright. Okay, now let's go over here. Size down this brush. Oop, I see a little bit. There was like a fucking stray pixel here. This ain't that one video game. I couldn't decide between making a mouth-washing reference or a Deltarune reference, so I just sort of... It's a fill in the blank for you. Insert whatever joke you find funnier. Well, I guess the mouth-washing one isn't really that funny. I am also going to go around and, I'm gonna do a bit more detail in the rim lighting layer. Don't think that that layer is done. It's not. I was saying, I might be going too detail on the soft shading here, but we'll see how it looks once I hit the buttons. Alright, I think that's good. Let's see, do I want to do the other one then? Yeah, because I did do more detail there than I intended. Let's do the harder shading. Truly, my brain is still Deltarune. Chris is non-binary. Deltarune. Susie is a girl that's mean. Deltarune. Rosie has a hat, I think. Deltarune. That's your pension Queen Birdly. I need to memorize the rest of that song. Like, especially the fucking, the bits where they just fucking list a bajillion things that happen in Deltarune. They're, like, the non-listy bits I can remember a bit easier. The big list of things is a bit harder to remember, you know? Like, the poke rap. Part of me wonders, I forget if this fucks it up. Okay, I don't think that fucks it up. Making little individual folders for the individual bits. Copy. Paste. Copy. Paste. Dip. Copy. Paste. Here. Shirt. I don't know whether I'll do this for Salem's layers. I think Salem had less layers, so it's not as necessary. As you can see, I've now done like the opposite of what I was talking about before. There we go. Just wanted to see how everything looked. I'm sure I was doing all my stuff right. I'll do that in a second. I was thinking about doing the light itself, but I'll wait until the end to add the highlights. I'll just focus on like the shading part of the shading right now, you know? Okay. Back over to the yellow. What I will do though is get this back here. We're gonna do sort of like an inverse of it, you know? Like, let this be highlighted as well. Maybe this part would be better if I do, like, let me find actual eraser here. And I'll, like, smooth this out. Bah. Do those inner fluffs, are those good, or should I get rid of them in terms of this shading? Let me turn all the other layers back on. Let me see again what they look like without it. I think I'll keep them because if I decide that I don't like them later, I can always come back and get rid of them pretty easily, but it'll take more effort to bring them back if I decide I want them again. Okay. Yeah, I also wanted to go back here. Let's turn this layer off for a second because I saw some little... Where is Matt? Oh, I'm on the wrong layer. There we go. A couple of stray pixels. I see another stray pixel right here. Go. Multiply. Honestly, let's get rid of that. I don't think we need that. I think the other bit is enough. But we will add the smaller ones with this brush for a fluffy effect. Fluff enhancement. Maybe smoothing out some of these fluff bits. Let's make this brush a bit larger. Let's try that. I'm used to using this method for, like, hair and fur, so the fluff here is a little bit off from what I'm normally doing, which is throwing me off a little bit. What if we did it for highlights? Go over here and, like, overlay that. Maybe scream. I think that's alright. I think we can keep it like that. Go down to buttons, which also includes the pants. Go over here. Like this. Not much shading to be done on these. They're pretty littles. Over to this. This is that bit. Oh, I guess I didn't, let me go back to the yellow layers here. The eyelashes. I go down to, like, a really small, maybe not that small, a smaller brush here. Wanna do, try this out. I don't know about this. Ah, that's weird. The better or worse of the bigger brush? Worse, got it. Okay, so I'll just abandon that. They're fine as they are. Okay, wait, one more thing. Columbo type shit. The inner bits. Alright, I think that works. Okay, back to this layer here. Ta-da! 30. Little bit of rim lighting, giving the gloves a bit of pop. Like, do I want this part as well? I think, like, they're, like, theoretically big enough, you know, and, like, thick enough. Boop. Zoom in a bit more here. A bit like this. I don't know if I'm gonna get like the exact texture vibe that I want, but I can at least emulate a little bit, make it reminiscent of that, you know? And put you in mind of it. You ever say something and then you realize that it's like, you picked that up saying that from a YouTuber and you don't think that that's an actual thing that normal people say? I don't know if those ones on the hands are... Okay. Okay, there's 2 more layers I want to try here. Which is sort of a generic shading one. Like this. We'll see if this is too much. Not necessarily. And then the other one I wanted to try was going here, doing... I'll do overlay, I might change it to screen, we'll see what works better. I'm doing like little shinies. I like that. How does it look with screen instead? Bling! Yeah, I think I like that with overlay better. That doesn't make me go bling! Let me go back up to the antenna. Overlay. I know I said I was gonna focus on the shading and not the highlights, but hey. Sometimes they overtake you. Besides, I'm not doing the highlights that I was talking about when I was saying that. These are other unrelated highlights. Da-da. Nope, not soft light. Overlay, please. I'm unsure whether I like that or not. Oh, hello, Blade! 5 streak, nice. Hell yeah. That's so many. Alright. Ba-ba-ba. Gonna do that thing I was doing before where I get rid of all of the layers that I haven't shaded. Or I hide them, I don't get rid of them. It's like, fuck these layers, I delete them all. Okay. God damn, I once again forgot how unwhite the shirt is, removed from context. Now granted, it does have this overlay on it. Ba-ba-ba. Back over to this one here. Do pasta water, that I can do. It's my water. Saving. Also, good reminder there for me there, Lee, about the fact that I started half an hour late. So I look over and I'm like, oh, right, yeah, the ads would be at a different time, wouldn't they? Like, ah, yeah. Keeping that in mind. As I glanced over, I was like, what do you mean it's 6:30? Did I miss an ad break? Like, one should have happened by now. No. Truly, my mind is just still Deltarune Ralsei wears a hat, I think. It goes through some of the verses as well, it's not just the chorus. Oh fuck, it's Spampton with the French baguette. You are being subtle? Good job on your subtle. I'm proud of you. You may one day graduate the subtle class. That's the class, like, being subtle 101. Not classes in, like, a social system. You know? But ads are going to be up here in a minute now. So if you need to go to the bathroom or grab a snack or get something to drink, now is a great time to do so. It'll also be your hourly self-care check-in, so be sure to fix your posture, take your meds, save your files, feed your pets, charge your devices, do some stretches, unclench your jaw. Did I already say feed your pets? I forget. Whatever. Make sure you're taking care of yourself and or any sort of creatures that you may or may not have. Well, I guess you don't have to take care of creatures that you don't have. Unless like that's how you would refer to like your virtual pets. Your active Neopets user or something like that. This is your reminder to do your dailies in those video games, I suppose. I really like this so far. It's turning out really well, I'm glad. Granted, doing rim lighting, easy drawing hack of make it look good. If you want to make anything look good, just do rim lighting. If you want to make something look good and then like put in not as much effort, do rim lighting, you know? Other forms of shading you sort of really have to figure out on occasion. I guess, you know, sometimes you don't have to figure it out too hard. But it's like, okay, the shading is from back there. You just put the light around the edges and it's dark in the middle. You don't gotta think about it too hard. I see art tutorials sometimes where it's like, multiple points of light shading, and I'm like, you know, I'm sure there are people who need to know that. I'm not one of those people. Or I guess I am one of those people because I don't know how to do that, but I'm not going to be utilizing that. I appreciate you informing me. This isn't the time for me. Look, I've been doing backgrounds lately. I've been figuring out how to do them. I sort of like doing them now. I feel insane about that. Now, not all types of them, really. I figured out 1 point perspective. And that's it. But it's better than what I knew before, which is not any of that. I've learned that from doing the Deltarune backgrounds. And from doing the animatics and the videos. Let me pull up, just to demonstrate for real quick. If I pull up one of my files here. Just a short tangent, just a short one. This is the file for the animatic that I did in my latest video. My latest YouTube video. And where's the... yeah, here's the background. I got, like, all this stuff. And I'm really proud of this background. The depth, yeah. The Evo plans are a little bit slapdash. I had sort of done everything else here, and so I just was like, I'm gonna phone this in a little bit. Do I still have all the layers of... because I kept the grid, because I think I like it. One of those things where, like, you get used to it. But I have, like, I got my big grid here that I had to make. That I figured out how to do... you know those squares that people do? I figured out how to do those squares. And make them correct and good and all. I did not know how to do the squares before, but now I do. And from those squares I got the floor here. And then I really like the trees. Here it is without the, wow. Without all the colors of them. Let me change the color of this to, like, a lighter. Then you can see the trees a bit better. Truly, I think also some of the best trees I've ever drawn. It's sort of just, it's just flipped left and right. Each of these trees. This is technically the one this is technically the side that I was drawing on because I'm right-handed and then they flipped over here. Symmetry tool or whatever. I really like these trees, they turned out really well. Especially since I do not consider myself good at drawing trees. The spikes. The spikes were really something. Did I get rid of all my layers of, like, figuring out how the fuck to do the spikes? Yeah, there they are going in. I had, like, a whole thing about that. I think I might have gotten rid of that layer just to be... I had, like, a whole box. You know? I had, like a big box like this, and then it all had little lines down it, like that, and then there were circles in all of them, and then those circles had, like, a bunch of intersections within them, and then I drew that box taller and back, like this. I had a whole fucking thing to draw these spikes. Like, I'm figuring shit out. I'm learning how to do it. Back to these guys. I did, like, one background for ArtFight, and I had a good time doing it, but I don't think I'm going to be doing that for a lot of them, because I think I'll get too caught up on it. You know, just my basic backgrounds for here. I'm not fast at them yet. I've gotten pretty fast at drawing other types of stuff, but not as fast for backgrounds and stuff. I say that, I've been going pretty slow on these ones, but then again, I think I go a little slower when I'm doing, streaming art. Because I gotta be talking to y'all. And I try to explain myself a bit more, whereas when I'm not streaming, I go silent mode. I just sort of lock in, aka I hyper-focus on shit, and then it's done. If you want to learn how to time travel, it's called just hyper-focusing, and then the world moves at 2 times speed. You better hope nothing important happened while that was happening, because the rest of the world did not exist for that amount of time. You know? It's like the Adam Sandler movie Click. You fast forward through life, but events are still occurring, you know? I'm sure every person with ADHD is very happy that I did that to them, that I made them realize that I'm comparing them to hit Adam Sandler movie Click. Everyone's favorite, everyone loves it. This is what I was talking about when I was like, I'm not gonna do the shading yet. I was talking about this, the highlights rather. I was talking about doing this bit. Going around the outside with the light color. I'm doing that now, just sort of for fun. And whimsy and joy. Overlay. Screen. Do I prefer the overlay version or the screen? I'm not seeing much of a difference. Now if I'm more zoomed in... Okay, I can see it's subtly different. I prefer overlay with the subtle. How do I feel about this layer now? You make it slightly lighter, plus turning that opacity down a little bit. Bit bop boop. Back up here. Is non-binary. Deltarune says he is a girl, that's me. Deltarune, all he wears is a hat, I think. Spencer Green Curly. I said Spencer instead of Spamton, because I fucked up. I fucked up Spamton's name, and instead of it becoming like syllables, it became Spencer. This is my new conspiracy theory. This is my new Deltarune prediction. We all thought that the Spamton Neo fight, that it was talking about, when they were talking about, like, how Leitner designed the body for Neo, we all thought it was talking about Metaton. Actually, it was talking about Spencer Shea from iCarly. Spencer Shea canonically designed the Spamton Neo body. And the thing is, he would. That fits right in with all of his other shit. What's everybody's favorite iCarly character, and why is it Spencer? To be fair, I'm like halfway between... Well, I mean, I think it is Spencer, but I have a lot of love in my heart for Sam. I think she was my favorite as a kid, but as I grew older, I liked Spencer more, you know? Lovely. Now we can go for the red, baby! Oh, I fully did not shade the eyebrows. I'll come back to those. Once I get this initial bit done here. Back to the red layer. I'm not sure. Do Moths? Well, I mean, I know that this bit for sure, this yellow bit here, is fluffy. I forget, do Moths? Would you be fluffy here as well? About whether I should add little lines for like fur and stuff, but I think I'll abstain from that, just in case. Besides, I don't think we need to complicate you any further. You'll look just fine without it. I don't know why I said we. I was literally not doing anything when I said we. We tends to be a noise that you make when you are doing something. Ooh, I should go back over to this layer and actually do this bit. The bit that I said I would save for last, and then I didn't. Do we want some on the top of the head? Maybe. Let's see. Go ahead. Yes. What about, how does this look with screen? That's an overlay situation. I think that's what I've been doing for all of them. Enemy's considering a little bit of a... I think it's better without that bottom bit. Chris is non-binary. It's so fucking catchy. I remember I was gonna say something, but I forgot. Yeah, I guess I was looking back at more Deltarune stuff. Is some of the stuff that I was doing today. Just double checking a couple of, like, fan theories and such. I didn't go too deep into it. Because I was looking at some of the fans' theory stuff that doesn't interest me as much. Not in the sense that I don't find it interesting, but more so in the sense that it's like, I want all of the information before I speculate, you know? I was talking about this yesterday, I think. Where there's, like, parts of Deltarune that, like, people have a lot of theories about. And I get it, but I'm just like, I don't wanna commit to something. I think it's more fun to explore multiple possibilities, you know? That's sort of just how I am with most, like, pieces of media as well. Where it's like, I just sort of hold multiple interpretations as true in my head at the same time. It's not exactly what I'm talking about with Deltarune. I'm just saying it's not unprecedented for me to just be like, yeah, whatever. I need to have, like, at least 2 different interpretations of the same thing in order to function, you know? Ideally more. Ideally more. But also, it's like, I don't find it as fun. Because I would like more information before I start speculating, and I know that, like, at this point, we have a lot. At this point, it's like, okay, we're 5 out of 7 deep. It's not... It's not like I'm saying this after, like, 1 or 2 chapters is out. I should be fine to do that. There's just a part of me that's like, but I want every bit of info, even though that means that, like, some of these theories won't actually mean anything yet. But I just mostly mean, like, I'll leave the, like, theorizing to other people, and I'll watch them do it, and I'll see if I like anything that they're doing. I like finding the info, though. It's fun. I like hearing about it. I like finding the puzzle pieces, I suppose. I'm finding the puzzle pieces, I'm hearing about other people finding the puzzle pieces, I'm looking at the puzzle pieces, I'm like, oh, that's so cool! I wonder what it solves into. And other people are like, let's put them together and see if, like, what we can put together so far, you know, if that is enough for us to guess what the final full image will be. And I'm like, I'm gonna wait until we have all of them first. But I like looking at the ones that we have. I like holding up a puzzle piece and going, this piece seems like it could fit here, or it could fit over here. And as a fun thing, it could also fit over here, where nobody's really expecting it to be. But I think that that's cool, how many different spots it can fit in. I'm not going to commit to putting it in one of those places yet. It's up to other people, I think. But I think it's fun to point out all the different ways that it can go, and maybe that this piece depicts this thing, or maybe it depicts this thing. And if you put these two together, it looks like this, but if you take this one and put it with this other one, it looks like this. Maybe these all come together over here. I don't know the exact order they go into, but I can tell that, like, the pattern on them is similar, so these all probably go together over here. I've solved this section of it. Who knows, though? Maybe there's something weird in between this section and another section. Ain't that so fucking cool? I hope this metaphor makes sense. Like, I like analyzing the stuffs. You solved it, or did you? Exactly! Like, even once the puzzle is solved, I'm like, okay, that's great. I like seeing the full image. Let me zoom back in on some of these pieces. Let me break off this piece and look at it a bit further. Do you know you can break this piece actually into a couple of smaller pieces, and you can put them back together? But also, like, even if these two pieces don't fit together, they look really good together. These two almost fit together. Isn't that interesting? The ways that they don't fit together are just as interesting as the ways that they fit with the other pieces. I love media analysis, is what I'm getting at. I like analyzing this stuff. Theorizing, while it does play a bit into it, isn't the end-all and be-all of it. I dabble in theorizing, I suppose, is what it is. Oleander shaded! And I bring in this guy, it's like, oh, the flat! This guy's so flat! Cut to, like, one of those fucking anime scenes of a girl looking at her boobs sadly. Those scenes are truly so funny to me. Because, like, I was truly like, nobody does that though, right? And then I followed more trans women online, and a lot of them are doing that constantly on my dashboard. And I'm like, ah, okay. Like, I'm sure there are cis women who do that as well. But I don't know, as somebody who's been, like, pretty uninterested in that aspect of bodies, I'm just like, it's so weird to me. Okay, now we're doing this motherfucker. Actually, there are more colors on this guy than I thought. Okay, we're gonna go through and do what I did for Oleander then. And give all of the bits their own folder. Deltarune, Chris is non-binary. What if I did, like, just fucking analysis on that song? Line by line. Line by line analysis of— I believe the song is called Deltarune Colors. A parody of Cadmium Colors by Jamie Page. I forget who made Parody. Let me treat it with all the seriousness of Jackie's box! I'm glad that I could show you Jackie's box, Lee. Let me pull up— I keep referencing the song, the person who made it deserves to be brought up. Because literally when I found this song, it had 600 views. Okay, it has 1.4k now. It is by Lyra with Hat and Ellie53. It's one of those things where it's like multiple people upload stuff at the same time. You know what? Yeah, here we go. Deltarune Colors Lyrical Analysis moment. We're gonna go line by line here. I'll just have this up on my other monitor and glance over at it if I need something to talk about. So the first lines here actually come from a comment on the original video, the original Cadmium Colors video. Which, by the way, the Cadmium Colors, I said this at the beginning. Great song, love it, one of my favorite Jamie Page songs. Probably one of my favorite Vocaloid songs as well. I forget the name of the album. That, you know, the Jamie Page album? That one. You know the one I'm talking about. I really like it. It's good. Jamie Page is a great producer. One of, if not my favorites. But the first lines here is from the YouTube comment section, and it's what inspired all of this. And the chorus, like the bits that I keep quoting are by Jamie Page in I believe, was it a tweet or a Blue Sky? I don't know. I'm unsure. They look very similar to me in screenshots. So just the first line. The comment. Who did the comment? Because I remember they're the pinned comment. Triangle wavy womb baby. The first line of the song, though. I spend my hours doing alchemy. Now that is just the first line of Cadmium Colors. I spend my hours doing alchemy. Which, you know, this is what is establishing the pattern. It puts you in the mindset, because this originated as a YouTube comment. It makes you read it to the tune of the song by doing the first line first. People do this on occasion as well. With other bits of, like, song parody. Keeping one of the lines so that you are already reading it with the proper tune, melody, etc. I will apologize in advance, I'm not great at knowing musical terms. I haven't played an instrument since middle school, and I'm very much not in middle school. I spend my hours doing alchemy, yeah. That is, in the context of Cadmium Colors, this is, of course, referring to... The song is sort of, like, about... I guess to, like, sum it up, like a depressed painter. To sum it up a bit. Like, talking about, being sad while also being an artist and wanting to create something that outlasts yourself. And, that kind of vibe to it. The alchemy there referring to more so, like, you know, turning nothing into something, turning something into art, turning these paints into a scene, stuff like that. And also the fact that, like, some paint is made of, like, metals and shit, which is more of an alchemy stuff, turning stuff into paint itself even. But I spend my hours doing alchemy now within this context is mostly for that. There are some other lines throughout this song, throughout this parody, that are retained or only slightly altered from the original song, because they do as well relate to Deltarune. I don't believe that this is one of them. Now, it can theoretically be like that, but that, like, this seems... I'm taking a bit of a Doyleist angle here. Treating it within the text itself, it is... Treating it with, like, this is a part of the song, and I will treat it as part of the song, and not as a, addition within that context. I'm unsure still of how to relate it to Deltarune. There's not a lot of literal alchemy, of course, but metaphor is, of course, a literary device that is rather popular. Alchemy could refer to a lot of things within Deltarune, because alchemy is sort of a form of transition, which is a big theme within Deltarune itself. Of course, we all know about trans-Ralsei theory, but there's also stuff more so relating to Chris and the soul as like a big thing there. There's also sort of a transition between childhood and adulthood. Growing up is a big theme throughout all of Deltarune, being that it seems both like Chris and Susie are in these worlds that they are facing grown-up dangers, they're facing real dangers, but they're also sort of playing with toys in a way that makes it feel like they are resisting growing up, you know? They're like embracing their childhoods in this way, in a way to like push back against this kind of thing, resisting that. The creation of the Dark World is sort of alchemy, turning the objects into something with more worth. That's a good point as well. That's a very good point as well. It's a lot of turning something into nothing, turning nothing into something, making things into things. I think it does work. It does work. It wouldn't be my first go-to as a metaphor, but hey, different people have different ways of interpreting things and different ways of expressing that interpretation, and I do think that that is a good, valid interpretation. Line number 2. I'm gonna do the first line again so I can get into the rhythm of it. I spend my hours doing alchemy. Chris, Susie, Noelle, Ralsei, Lancer, Queen, Spamton, Birdley. Now, this may sound like just a list of the characters, and that's because it is. Chris, Susie, Noelle, Ralsei, Lancer, Queen, Spamton, Birdley. For context, throughout this song now did come out yesterday. This premiered yesterday. However, by watching the video, it is very clear, given that there are 0 references to Chapter 5, that this was made before that. And I do think that that is a piece of context that I am going to bear in mind throughout the rest of this. Sort of because, you know, it is context that the original creators, I believe. Yeah. One person with Lyra did lyrics, tuning, music video editing, and additional mixing, and Ellie did the instrumental and mixing. And of course, Kasane Tato on the vocals. But, let's see here, where was I? Yes. Susie, Noelle, Ralsei, Lancer, Queen, Spamton, Birdley. These are very important characters within Deltarune. One could argue main characters, especially given Chris, Susie, Noelle, Ralsei are like the 4 main characters. Personally, I would say Ralsei, Noelle, but for rhymes and stuff, I get it. But also just, you know, the Lightners and then the Darkners there. It's a good way. This is going to relate as well to the first line. I think that's an important thing to bear in mind here. That, because it starts from, like, I spend my hours doing alchemy, and then the list of them. I think this is, reading into it here, that we're supposed to relate these two concepts together. That these characters are, in fact, the ones doing alchemy, or they're the ones who are the result of the alchemy, I would say. Chris, Susie, Noelle, Ralsei, Lancer, Queen, Spamton, Birdley. It is interesting. This is an interesting thing here. The first 4 characters here are the main ones here. Or they're the creations as the song sung by Gaster. That's a good point. I will say there is a lyric later, there's like a section later in the song, the bridge is very Chris themed, and there's like a line in the chorus that seems pretty Chris, though that is me getting ahead of myself here, and there is nothing saying that the song can't be sung by multiple people at different points. Let's see here. let's think about these characters in relation to the alchemy. As I mentioned before, there is the obvious alchemy metaphor of growing up that I established, referring back to that paragraph of this thesis. These characters are transitioning from children to adults. For Chris, Susie, Noelle, and Birdley at the end there. I find it interesting how Birdley is separated from the rest of them, you know? Chris, Susie, Noelle, Ralsei, Lancer, Queen, Spamton, Birdley. Birdley is taken from the Lightners and placed within the Darkners. And Ralsei, if we're separating it into, because there's 8 listed, if it's 4 and 4, Ralsei is being placed with the Lightners, and Birdley is being placed with the Darkners. Perhaps this is about the weird root. I do think that that is a good thing to bear in mind. That could be possible. There is that angle. There's also the idea of, like, Birdley does align himself with Queen, whereas I guess Susie does also align herself with Lancer, but for less... No, Birdley doesn't do it really even for malicious intentions. However, I would say that Birdley is more down to be sort of evil, you know? And not in the overt sense that Susie is, because she's calling herself evil throughout Chapter 1. She's doing some more posturing, whereas Birdley is more so aligning himself with the main bad guy of the game. You know, of that chapter is Queen, whereas Lancer is not the main villain of Chapter 1. That would be his father, the king. And once it becomes a thing of fighting the king, Susie is joining back up, you know? Susie is aligning herself once again with the heroes. Now, Birdley does, in fact, do that as well, where at the end, he flips and he joins you again. Though maybe this is also a bit to demonstrate the distance between Birdley and the rest of the main characters, because once again, Chris, Susie, Noelle, Ralsei is the thing here, is the beginning list. They are the main characters, as I said before. They're these main guys. I don't know why I keep trying to define the teeth here. I'm not gonna do that. They're the main guys here. So it could be to distinguish him from the rest of the main characters here, which I do think, again, is an interesting choice. Because I wonder if this, scariest thing to hear me say as you were actively defining teeth. Well, the ones that I'm drawing here don't really work for me. I didn't draw these teeth with the idea of defining them in mind, or else I would commit to it more. It's not a decision I can suddenly pivot into with these. But there is the, where was I? Chris, Susie, Noelle, Ralsei, Lancer, Queen, Spamton, Birdley. Yeah, those are the main, but it does, I wonder if this brings to light an underlying bias on the author's part by shoving Birdley to the side here. Because, like, Birdley is commonly, I think people are a bit too mean to Birdley, you know? A lot of people are rather rude to him and treat him far harsher than he deserves. As Queen said, there's nothing wrong with him, he's just annoying. And that's so real. I like Birdley. That's my strong Deltarune opinion. I like Birdley. There is also the thing here of, it is interesting, the characters listed here, Lancer, Queen, Spamton, Birdley. Lancer and Queen, of course, being incredibly main characters, while King is the main villain of Chapter 1, Lancer is the one that you see more often. And Queen is both the main villain and the most prominent one. You know, there isn't a second one behind her that will take over, you know, like the way that King does from Lancer. However, the inclusion of Spamton is interesting. I'm unsure if this original comment was made before Chapter 3, because it seems like that would be a good place to put Tenna. There is possibly the, once again, idea of illuminating a bias on the author's part, of perhaps, I know that there is some controversy between Spamton and Tenna. There are, you know, a bit of messy relationship between the two. Maybe this is the author making their loyalties clear. However, I'm less interested in what the author's opinion is, and more interested in what the song's opinion is. And I think that this song is basically saying that Spamton is a main character. Spamton deserves to be listed among all of these other main characters. Because Chris, Susie, Noelle, Ralsei, you can't argue with them. Those are the main characters. Lancer is prominent and is huge within Chapter 1. Queen, prominent and huge in Chapter 2. Birdley, similar to Queen, huge in Chapter 2. Spamton is an optional character. You get one scene with him for certain, where he introduces himself by the dumpster. Any further Spamton interaction, I believe, is entirely optional. There's also the idea that Spamton is, in fact, this is a good idea here. We were speculating a bit a moment ago on this perhaps being about the weird root. Spamton is, in fact, the main boss, I believe, in the weird root of Chapter 2. He is not optional on the weird route. Now, forgive me, I'm less familiar with the weird route, especially Chapter 2, because it's been a while. My interest in the weird route happens when the new chapter comes out and I see what happened in the weird route, and then I'm like, cool, I'm going back to normal now. He also serves as the death counter a la Undertale. Like how Sans does? I'm unfamiliar with. I've not actually seen, like, I've never sat down and watched a full playthrough of Chapter 2 Weird Route. I've seen, like, bits and pieces of it. That's cool, if so. But yeah, this is probably relating to that. So I think what this song is doing, by referencing he counts how many you must freeze to get the weird route. Like in But Nobody Came? Like that kind of stuff? Where it's like, this many more. Okay, yeah. Which I truly was like, I feel like if he was doing the Sans thing on Genocide Route, wherever you can tell when I get too into it when I stop doing the art. The Sans thing of being like, huh, I must have killed you this many times. I feel like I would have heard about that, but yes, that makes more sense. I do believe I might have heard about that before. I think what this line means, then, by listing these main characters, is establishing that this is talking mostly about Chapters 1 and 2. Whoops, I deleted the eyes. This is talking mostly about Chapters 1 and 2, and this is also a combination of both normal and weird route, because Spamton is listed as a main character. This is going to be, but Queen is still also listed as a main character. Now granted, Queen is still prominent at the beginning of the weird route, at least I would assume, given that it takes you a bit to get to the parts where it becomes the weird route, because you have to be able to control Noelle. So I assume, you know, you still get to see quite a bit of Queen, so maybe this is fully weird route, but I believe, so far at the very least, this is referring to both normal and weird. That's establishing the grounds that we're playing in. Once again, we're 2 lines deep into this song, so we're still establishing the framework so we know how to play in this space. I think that's a good thing to do, is letting us know the limitations, letting us know what to expect within this. The next line. the third line in this. Here, one second, let me get this. I have to actually read the lyrics and not look at the art while I'm saying them. I'm gonna redo the beginning bits as well, just to establish. The third line begins after the word Birdly. I spend my hours doing alchemy. Chris, Susie, Noel, Rosie, Lancer, Queens, Bampton, Birdly, Organic, Rabbit, and the Thrash Machine. Once again, this line is once again listing characters. Organic, Rabbit, and the Thrash Machine. Now, I will say, within the music video of this song, when it's talking about the Thrash Machine, it does show an image of the version of the Thrash Machine in the Queen fight at the end, not the one that you get in Chapter 1. This is the one from Chapter 2, specifically when you're fighting, is it like Mecha Queen or something like that? I forget her exact title. I'm letting down my favorite Deltarune character. Aside from Susie, because Susie is everybody's favorite, so she doesn't count. It goes without saying. It's when I talk about my favorite Deltarune character, assume I'm talking about my second favorite, alright? Everybody's favorite is Susie. But Organic, Rabbit, and the Thrash Machine. Now we're talking about some more side characters here. These are aside from the Thrash Machine here, Organic and Rabbit are... How should I refer to these? Just like, I guess, grunt characters? These are characters who may be less story prominent, but are those little characters that you're going to be fighting as you go through. Organic here being our first reference to something not within the first two chapters. Organic being from Chapter 4. I will say, just in case anybody's less familiar with these characters, the non-main characters, I'll describe who each of these are. Organic is the Chapter 4 character who is based on a piano organ, you know? Like that kind of dun-dun-dun. They're like weird priest sort of guys. Granted, you know, they're in Chapter 4, so it makes sense for them to be weird priest sort of guys. It's the chapter that most lends itself to a weird priest sort of guy. Ba-ba-ba. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Actually, I should do this with this brush, maybe. There's also, after Organic, Rabbit, which is the Chapter 1 enemy who's like a little rabbit that you have to like blow on, and it's like, oh, I'm clean now. And then you can spare. This is an interesting array of characters. It's very interesting. Very little connection between these characters, almost as though they were chose for reasons pertaining to syllable and sound, rather than a deeper textual level. However, that is pure conjecture on my part. Instead, let's take a moment. These characters were placed together for a reason. Let's speculate as to what that reason is. There is also the idea of putting it into context. The previous line was listing characters. I'll go ahead and say quite a few more lines to follow are also listing characters until we get to, like, the, I guess pre-chorus, I think is the term. So these characters are placed together in their own lines. I have to wonder if there are some lines that these characters say that I am forgetting. There is also the idea, ooh, you know what? Let's think about the Thrash Machine. The Thrash Machine, if you recall the end of Chapter 2, which I have seen rather recently-ish. I watched somebody complete the end of Chapter 2 a little, not too long ago. But in order to create the Thrash Machine, it's sort of like an everybody comes together moment. And if you're playing in a method where you spare people, you get to see all of the people that you've spared, all the Darkners you've spared show up to help you build the Thrash Machine. This is one of the moments where you can see Starwalker. Like, they all fly by, Birdly shows up, he's like, oh, let's all save the world together. On his, like, roller coaster thing, right? So the previous line ended with Birdly, and then this line ends with Thrash Machine, something that Birdly helped to create. That is interesting to think about there. It could be implying, with all the listing of characters, including the Thrash Machine, this is the first thing listed that is not a character. This is a mech, you know? This is a sort of like a Voltron situation. This is a robot type thing. But it is created by all of the characters coming together. That might be a theme to look out for within this. Because once again, we had our opening line about alchemy, which I've chosen to really stick to this whole... And I guess I will stick to this until I find something to either disprove it or something that sticks out to me more. The idea of this being relating to the core themes of Deltarune, including growing up, but also the idea here of togetherness, which is a very big one. Because that seems to be, like, Susie and Chris's main thing, is sticking together no matter what. These two are always together. It's like a big thing for them, right? Like, I know that this was made before Chapter 5. That's very prominent within Chapter 5 as well. The theme of togetherness, of these two are going to stick together no matter what. So there's also the idea of the togetherness of not just them, but other people as well. They may like rely on each other, but they don't have to just rely on each other. They can rely on the people around them, all the people that they've helped, that they've made friends with, that they, together, have now formed a community. The Dark Fountain, in Castletown, all of this, them togetherness, that sort of a thing here. Which makes sense as well, being like Chris, Susie, Noelle, Ralsei, to start off with the main characters. To start off like, yes, these are the main guys, but it's not just them. It's all of the friends they made along the way. Yes, Chris and Susie, their friend Noelle, their friend Ralsei, Lancer, one of the first Darkner friends that Susie made, Queen, they managed to convince her to their side, Spamton, they either, like, if you conclude the secret boss fight, they helped Spamton through what he was dealing with. I won't go off on a whole Spamton tangent since he's just one part of this. But, you know, they helped him throughout his whole awful thing that he's going through. There's also the idea, continuing on from there, Birdly, who is, you know, helped out a lot by these guys, who goes through his own character arc and learns a lot along the way. Even if it is sort of, I won't say it's like reset by the time that they enter the light world. But you know, like, even though he like chooses to go back a little bit, slightly, but not super strongly. You know, progress isn't linear. I didn't expect him to go fully 100%, he's the goodest boy ever now, you know? He has to be a little bit annoying still. One second, I'm gonna take a drink of water. But then seeing the next characters being listed, Organic, Rabbit, and the Thrash Machine. I mean, once again, Thrash Machine not really a character. But Organic is our first, like, real side character here. And to go on a bit of a meta level for a moment, Organic, I feel, is one of the least popular characters. One of the least popular little guys, right? One of the least popular grunts, I suppose. Like, obviously, guys from Chapter 1 can be rather popular. I feel like people liked the Chapter 2 guys as well. I feel like the Chapter 4, just in general, doesn't get a lot of attention, given that it was released alongside Chapter 3, and Chapter 3 had a very strong aesthetic, and it was more, I guess, happy in tone than Chapter 4. I mean, Chapter 4 doesn't have, like, the most downer of tones forever. It's still Deltarune, it's still happy, but it is darker than Chapter 3. I guess be more serious as well. So I think people didn't latch onto the side characters as much for Chapter 4 because they were still thinking about Chapter 3. Like, the only Chapter 4 person who really was big with people, or I guess the only two, were Gerson and Jackenstein. Not a lot of the other Chapter 4 characters made it big. And to keep on this meta angle here, the fact that the first non-main character listed is Organic, one of these side characters who aren't as popular, it's just like, even though this character may not be as loved as Rudin or Ambulance, as the Tasks, as the Shadow guys, you know, this guy may not be everybody's favorite, but they are still a member of this team. They still contribute to the whole. They still need to be told that, chat, we are about to experience 3 minutes of ads. So if you need to go to the bathroom or grab a snack or get something to drink, that's going to be a great time to do so. This is also your hourly self-care check-in, so go ahead and be sure to remember to fix your posture, take your meds, save your files, feed your pets, charge your devices, do some stretches, unclench your jaw, make sure overall you're taking care of yourself. I'm gonna keep having this conversation, so unfortunately if you do get ads, you will miss out on this analysis. However, I'm 3 lines deep into this thing. And I want to finish this conversation by the end of stream. But Organic being the first one listed here, it makes me feel like it's a commentary on that, you know? Of being just, this character may not have left the biggest impression on everybody, but this character is still a part of the group. This character is still important, just as everybody is. Because when we all come together, we can all build the Thrash Machine. You love this analysis so much, you can analyze anything. You can do this to literally anything, and it's so fucking awesome that you can do this to literally anything. I love doing this so much. I got into doing this because when I was, like, a kid, I forget how old I think middle school, I realized that, like, I could make My Little Pony sound so much cooler if I talked about it like this. I was like, I can make anything sound really cool if I know how to talk about it. And that's where I'm at. And that's the domino in the chain that led to me being here analyzing Deltarune colors featuring Kasane Teto. Okay, so the next character in the line, I've been skipping over I've talked about organic, I've talked about Thrash Machine, I've been skipping over Rabbik, which I think is similar to organic in that we're calling attention to a character here who is not a main character but does still, is still important. It'll go without saying throughout the rest of these characters that they are still important, right? That this is, like, listing everybody. It's saying that we are all important to this. Together, we can make a difference together. Like, it doesn't matter. We love each other, and that's awesome. Right? Rabbik, similar to organic. Once again, I'm pulling in the context that this song was made where Chapter 4 was the most recent for the organic thing there. Chapter 1, conversely, obviously, is the oldest chapter. So by calling attention to Rabbik, who is, I think, also, like, a less relevant, I need a good term for these characters. Was I saying grunts before? I don't know if there's a better term for them. But, like, there's other characters within it. I feel like all of the other ones appear more often. The Bloxers show up quite a bit. The Rudens show up a bit. Hathy shows up a bit. Like, it's like, Hathy and Ruden and Clover being all guys who are also in the castle. They have, like, Ruden and Hathin both have, like, the bigger versions as well. And then Bloxer, I think Bloxer technically could be similar to Rabbik in that, like, is less prominent in, like, the story itself. However, I think afterwards, when you get to, like, Castletown, Bloxer does show up more often. Right? Bloxer has little jokes within Castletown, whereas Rabbik doesn't really. Rabbik does have Ribbik as a parallel in a future chapter. I forget what exact chapter Rabbik is from, but that's pretty cool. But I do think just being like, it doesn't matter if you're from Chapter 4, if you're from a recent chapter, from an old chapter, you are still a part of this. And I think that's pretty epic. I don't know why I have that layer on there. That's an unnecessary layer. Okay, next. The Organic Rabbik and the Thrash Machine. Mouse Pippin's Ambulance, Tenna, Gerson, Hathy. Here we go. Next bit here. Mouse Pippin's Ambulance, Tenna, Gerson, Hathy. The late Tenna. The late Tenna. Tenna showing up here, as well as Gerson right next to him. Both, I would say, like, if I were to show up if I were to, like, put, aside from the main characters, one character per chapter, I would say, Lancer, Queen, Tenna, Gerson. Once again, only talking about the first 4 chapters here because that's what the song is. So it is good that they make an appearance here. And it's fun putting them in a mix of all of these other characters who are less prominent. Mouse, Pippins, Ambulance, Tenna, Gerson, Hathy. Once again, I think these characters are more prominent in fandom stuff than Organic and Rabbik. However, once again, they're less plot relevant. They're less forward in it, right? You get less, like, big plot moments where it's like, oh shit, and in comes Pippins. Well, I guess Pippins is a bad example, but it's like specific Pippins. It's that one specific green Pippins. And even then, isn't the most plot relevant, Just sort of a sillier, goofier guy. I think it's fun putting them amongst those guys. Like, even if you made, like, a bigger impact on the story, you're still, like, among all of these guys, right? These guys are just as good as you are. Let's see here, the ones I chose here. Mouse, Pippins, Ambulance, Tenna, Gerson, Happy. Am I correct in remembering... Yeah. Isn't Pippins Chapter 3, or does... I believe that is correct, right? Yeah. Because it's like, okay, so chapter... That's 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 1. So yeah, this is all of them here. I think I have less to say about this line, in that I think it's sort of repeating what I said about the previous ones, in that we're listing characters who are important. These are our friends. We are all here in Castletown together. We're all having a good time. Together we have everything that we could ever want because we're friends, and that's cool as fuck. Well, to be pedantic, Pippin showed up in Chapter 1 but weren't enemies. That's what I thought. That's why I was, like, doubting it, because I was like, I felt like they showed up before then. But I couldn't remember where. Where do they show up in Chapter 1? I'm trying to picture them in my brain, but I can't. They were intended to be, but their attacks are too hard. So they were enemies in Chapter 3. Okay, I didn't know that part. That's fun. Mouse, Pippins, Ambulance, Tenna, Gerson, Happy. Yeah, I think this is just reestablishing the aforementioned theme of togetherness through this change that we must go through, but we can go through it together. With the support of our friends, we can do anything. Now, Jevil hasn't shown up as a character being listed yet. Maybe I shouldn't say that we can do anything. Yeah, and I've said what I needed to, I think, about Tenna and Gerson being listed among those guys, so continuing. One second, I'm getting the tune to it in my head again here. December holiday, the dummy king Napstablook Jockington. That's the next line there. December holiday, the dummy king Napstablook Jockington. I fucked up Napstablook's name there. That is not... that is not a little sick in parentheses. That's my fuck up. Okay. It is so interesting to start off with December holiday. That's an immediate tone shift. Anything mentioning deaths, truly immediately it's like, oh, we're paying attention now. Because deaths, obviously, I'm not gonna rehash all of the stuff. I'm going to assume that if you're listening to this analysis, you have at least a base level of understanding of the plot of Deltarune and the basic theories and lore stuff, especially in relation to deaths here. I'm not gonna recount all of that. But it is interesting for her to be here. There's a part of me that, like, going back to our theme of still togetherness and stuff, there's maybe the idea of, even though she isn't here with us, that she is still in our hearts. Don't forget, she's with us in the dark. Something like that. Shout out to Dearest December, funniest shit in the world, so true. Oh boy. But yeah, it's an interesting assortment here. December Holiday, The Dummy, King, Napstablook, Jockington. Jockington being our first person here, or no, sorry, Napstablook rather, being the first character listed who is purely a Lightener, with no Darkner stuff, not even having visited the Dark World. Same for Jockington, but Napstablook here listed first. That is very interesting. It's like, you know, no matter whether you are a Lightener or a Darkner, your presence is valid. It's... all of these people are present within Chris's life, you know? I am going to view this through a bit of a Chris angle, as I mentioned before. Oh my god, Chris Angle, the magician? As I mentioned before, later within the song, some of these are more obviously sung by / about Chris. So going ahead and taking that leaning in advance, these people are all present within Chris's life. Well, maybe not Des anymore, ayo! But, these are big figures in their life. And, even if they may seem less, you know, prominent, they are still parts of their life. And it wouldn't be exactly the same without it. Once again, the theme of, like, things are changing. Chris is getting older, but the town is still there. Des may be gone, but her influence is still a huge part of Chris's life, you know? Des is one of the most haunting the narrative characters. You know? This game would not be the same without, like, just people mentioning her and it being like, what the fuck happened? Tell me! Shaking Chris violently. Tell me what happened! You might not know either, but you have a better idea than I do! You probably know what happened. I guess there's a chance that you don't. Or at least you have a vague idea, which is more than I have! Chris! But then the dummy, being the immediate juxtaposition there, this being the dummy that Ralsei teaches Chris how to do combat with. You know, this is like your first encounter, really, is you do like the acts, the fighting, etc. with the dummy. I do really find it interesting how, Ralsei does teach you how to fight, you know? In Undertale, Toriel, who, of course, does the tutorial stuff, doesn't really do that. She also navigates you to a dummy and is like, here's how you survive in this world. But she does not even give you the option of fighting, really. Like, you have it. You have the option. But you don't... She doesn't tell you that you are about it. You sort of have to do that on your own. Whereas Ralsei gives you... makes sure you're aware of it, and leaves it up to you to decide whether you want to do that or not. There's something to be said there, I think, maybe about how... Even though Ralsei does repeatedly throughout Chapter 1 state that they would rather have non-violent solutions, especially in Chapter 1, Ralsei is entirely reliant upon Chris to make every single decision, because they do not believe themselves worthy, or even, like, able to do that. They're too caught up on that. But that's analysis of that's a horse of a different color. That's analysis of a different thing. We're here to analyze Deltarune colors featuring Kasane Teto. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Anyway, the dummy here. Once again, I do think the relevance of the dummy is related to the fact that this is one of, if not, yeah, it is the first encounter, even though it's not, like, technically a real encounter, because it's not a real thing, you know? It's not a darkener, it's an object. It's an object within the dark world, which is like an object squared. You know? And that's rather neat. That's rather cool. Even though that this is... Even this thing is important. Because we made memories with it, and we had a good time with it, and we hugged it. King is a very interesting one, because King remains antagonistic. King has not been redeemed. King is still down in that cage. Even Chapter 5, King is still down there. Refuses to, like, make himself better. But even then, he's still a part of it. Even then, his influence cannot be unacknowledged. Napstablook, who is very not prominent in Chris's life, who does exist and is a part of the town, but is one of the least relevant to specifically Chris. Like, Undyne is more so relevant. Napstablook is relevant in that Undyne makes herself known, you know, especially with Chapter 3. Is it Chapter 3 or... Yeah, it's Chapter 3, right? That she gets yoinked. Yeah, because that's right after the night fight. Yeah. Jockington. He's a silly, goofy guy, and he definitely has a bit of an influence here. We have an interesting line next. Because, you know, December holiday, the Donny King, Napstablook, Jockington, Malleus, Dark Gold Band, Taskbird, Nani, no Wobbly Thing. I fucked up there a little bit. Malleus, Dark Gold Band, Taskbird, Lanino, Wobbly Thing. Malleus, of course, being Hammer Guy. Fixes your items for you. Dark Gold Band is an unused item. That's interesting. It's an interesting choice, right? Surely there's easier things to go for, but this is an unused item. Could this be something about even though it's unused, we still appreciate it? But I don't know. That seems a bit forced, really. Let me look at the Dark Gold Band. Is there anything? Because I know that some of the like unused stuff still has like. Okay, it's an armor that can only be equipped by Chris. Let me look up, does it have an item description? Its flavor text is the same as the mannequin. Yeah, it's a Chapter 2. A black metal with a golden shine. And the rest of the flavor text is the same as the mannequin. That's interesting. Is there the idea of that being like a ring? A dark gold band? Something about like a wedding ring? There's also the idea of the band. Band can have multiple definitions. Perhaps we're using band in a different way, rather than using it as like a physical band, like an item, like how it is in game, or I guess not in game because it's not used. Using band, using this as a way of calling the band of characters. You know, maybe it's the people you know as the 1 second, the squad, or Lancer fan club, the fun gang, what have you. They're a band of characters. They're a band, they're a squad, they're friends. They stick together. Dark gold, in that sense, could be dark in relation to the dark world, obviously. Could be dark in relation to, tone, theme. I think those are both good options, angles to explore, really. I don't think I will fully lean into those because, once again, I've not gotten through the first verse, and I have like an hour of stream left. So I might be cutting a couple of corners here, unfortunately. But I do think that that is a good angle to think of it from, perhaps, is using it as a form of band like that, talking about the group. Because it is, while it may be dark, it is still gold, you know? It's still shining, it's still beautiful, it's still worth something, even if it is dark, even if it is sad, even if though they have to go through these bad times, even though they must persevere through such bad stuff, even though they have to proceed through all of the bad. They are still together. They are still golden. They're staying gold, pony boy. You know, we're getting into that. And then, continuing on from there, Task. We're once again naming people. Bird is interesting, because Bird is... Let me double check. Is Bird referring to... Yes, in the video, Bird is referring to what I believe is commonly known, because I believe they're called this in the files, normal NPC. That's what Bird is referring to. I wanted to double check that that wasn't referring to the guy in Sword Root. That bitch! It's very interesting. I think that this may be perhaps calling Bird more prominent than necessarily believed. If, I mean, Bird is commonly, by fans, thought to be more relevant, thought to be something more, mysterious, given the connections through Undertale to Gaster. Perhaps another thing to really think of there, especially given that that is one away from being with the Dark Gold Band, and I just did that whole thing about the Dark Gold Band there. Continuing, Lanino, very important character there. Wobbly Thing is referring to, you know in Chapter 1 when you first fall down into the Dark World? And there's those little wiggly guys, there's those little wooglers that you walk by? I just saw what you did. I figured when you said that in chat that it was going to be me. That's wonderful. I'm pulling this up on screen so everybody can see it. Everybody, look at what Lee did. That's delightful. This poor little guy. This poor little fucko. Your dumbest ever attack. I love it. Like, I know I shouldn't, but I really want to shake it like that girl in Finding Nemo. Do not do that. Do not fucking do that. It is not meant to be at this air pressure. Now granted, I don't know if pathetic anglerfish is a real anglerfish. I don't even know if it's a real fish. I don't know what it is. But it is interesting to call out the wobbly thing. I mean, that could be a thing similar to Dummy, of like, this is one of the first things that you see when you're in the Dark World. And it's important because of that. It's important because it's one of the first memories they make together. I think that's a possible thing there, and I won't dwell on that because I want to get further into the song. You think it's somehow a snail? That would be delightful. One second, I'm remembering the tune here. Summer holiday, the dummy kidnaps the blunt Joggington. Valley is dark old bent, has bird money, no wobbly thing. Scarf lady, cactus, egg, sense, onion, Addison, the shelter key. So Scarf lady... Or is that Scarf and Lady? One second. Yeah, okay, no. Scarf Lady is her name. Scarf Lady is the girl in... Or I suppose she's the lady. She's one of the library NPCs. Scarf Lady, Cactus. We know the cactus. One of Chris's plants that really loves them. Then Egg. We're very familiar with the eggs by this point. Assume all of the characters just repeat what I've said before about them. I'll focus now on the non-character things here, being like the eggs. Once again, the eggs are very mysterious. There's the idea of eggs as a transgender thing, mayhaps. There's the idea of just even less from transitioning, both from genders. There's also, once again, the alchemy transition stuff from one state to another, from childhood to adulthood, from one gender to another, from anything to anything, realizing untapped potential, that kind of stuff. There's also the idea of, like, this is given to you by a mysterious figure within the game. They're very interesting, you know? There's lots of questions about the egg, and it's pretty prominent throughout. And once again, we're listing things that are pretty prominent because they are, because even if they're not as prominent, we're listing things that are important, rather than prominent. Because it doesn't matter how important they are, or it doesn't matter how prominent they are, because they are still important, because they are a part of the experience. Then Onion, Sans Onion, rather, Addison. The shelter key is very interesting, bringing that into here. A very important item. Very plot heavy, trying to get that shelter key, trying to get into the shelter, being a very, very prominent and important part of Deltarune. Listing it, I think, is bringing to attention that it is something that is on the mind, especially being at the end of a line, so it like has a pause of like the shelter key, and then it's like you like have like a moment to think about that, you know, before continuing. There's just that moment of like it gives you just enough to realize that they've said the shelter key, to realize that like, oh yeah, things are serious. To like just be like, whoa, because like we brushed over December Holiday a little bit before. Her name being that long does still give you that amount of time, even though she is at the beginning of the line. But that being at the end of it, giving you that moment to think, reminding you of the stakes, reminding you of everything that we've been through together, you know? Of what we're fighting for, and how we can do this all together. The Chase Mansion, Mr. Society, being the last line there of this first verse. The Chase, I believe, let me double check here. Yeah, the chase is referring to... Yeah. Is that a specific... And I'm trying to remember exactly when that happens. Is that when... Whatever. It's a part of Deltarune Chapter 1 that is a pretty big moment. You're being chased, you're, like, dodging stuff. It's one of those moments where you're in the overworld, and you see the soul, and you're using that to dodge projectiles. Those sort of things happen throughout, Deltarune and shit, you know? Where are my layers? What layer am I on? There we go, now I'm doing this correctly. Wait, I'm on the wrong thingy here. Where's my eraser? There we are. So the chase is a big thing there that happens. Mansion referring to Queen's Mansion, and ending on Mr. Society, who I think is a fun Chapter 1 character that I think is funny enough. I don't know if other people remember Mr. Society as much as I do, but Mr. Society is one of the characters that I think of a bit. I find him a silly. And I think ending on him, especially in contrast to the shelter key in the previous line, like, reminds you that, hey, things may be serious, this is still overall silly. And we're having a good time. Okay, next line. We're getting to the, pre-chorus here. Oh fuck, it's spammed in with a French baguette. Sorry, I started losing it there. Oh fuck, it's spammed in with a French baguette is the next line. So it's spammed in and he has a baguette. The baguette is French. So this is really important because... No, that's Chapter 5, and I won't read into that because it's a coincidence, because that's nothing. I was gonna bring up the Chapter 5 weird root, but as mentioned before, this was made before Chapter 5, so we don't need to, draw that connection. Now, theoretically, we can still draw it, but I don't want to at this point, because, once again, I want to get through the whole song, and I have 30 minutes. Or, not 30 minutes, I have an hour. It's funny as hell that they're connected to, yeah. I have 30 minutes until the next ad break, is where my brain was there, but I have an hour left of stream. But yeah, it is interesting. Oh fuck, it's spammed him with a French baguette. I wonder if we should bring back in the fact that we've already established earlier on that, the weird root is on the table. With the second line. So that might be the oh fuck it spammed him. Whether we're on the weird route or not, we know. And that connotation doesn't leave us. Whether he's being silly, holding this French baguette, or not, he's still in the back of our mind. We know what is still possible. You know, we know the implications that he has, even if he's not actively activating those. Oh fuck, it's spammed in with a French baguette. And this is our first line as well, in a while, that isn't a list of characters. We're being interrupted. That's what the oh fuck is about as well, is, oh, our reminiscing, our appreciation of all these guys are being interrupted by Spampton. Now, that could be a weird root thing, but keep in mind, he has a French baguette. I think that is similar to how the previous lines there we had a line ending with the shelter key and a pause to let you remember the seriousness, and then ending the next line with a line about Mr. Society, bringing you back to the silly. It's a push and a pull of silly and serious, serious and silly. You're going in between the two, which I think is very Deltarune. It's a theme that game loves to play around with. Like, oh fuck, it's Spamton. Are we scared right now? No. He's got a baguette. He's got a French baguette. We don't have to be worried. This guy may have these implications, but he's still also, ultimately, a silly little goober. And that's important to bear in mind. Ultimately, Spamton is a silly goober. And he shouldn't be taken too seriously. Because this is all silly. Reminding you that this is all silly. We're playing a video game, right? That might be part of the meta of Deltarune, is very into the fact that it is a video game. That's a very prominent theme within Deltarune. However, it also is a moment of reminding you, hey, we're all having a good time here. You don't have to, get too fucked up about this. Because at the end of the day, we're playing with toys. Just like how Chris and Susie, at the end of chapter 1, when you go and you open that one room and it's just a bunch of cards and a chessboard and yada yada. It's you're playing with toys. It's great. You had this big emotional experience, because playing with toys can be. Those emotions aren't gone just because they're about something silly, like a French baguette. It's just important to remember that they are still silly, like a French baguette. Let me take another sip of water here. Next line, after, oh fuck, it's Spamton with a French baguette. It was the ocean edited to be image depths. Now, you may know, image depths is, I believe, the background during the very first bit of Deltarune, when you're creating a vessel. That's true, yep. In the music video, which I suppose I should put this song in the chat. I'll just pin this. Just real quick, I'm in case you're joining late, I'm analyzing this. And then I'll just pin that. So that way, I don't immediately confuse. Granted, I probably should have done that way earlier. But if you pull up the tangential material here, not tangential, but the other material here, if you go to, what's a good timestamp here? You go to about 28 seconds, or 29 seconds rather, it, shows you the image that image depths is based on. I think this does relate to what I was analyzing the previous line with. The reminding you that this is a silly video game, and that the emotions are real, but it is ultimately a silly video game. I think it's similar to that. In that, once again, we're going to a more meta level now, right? We have fully drawn back the curtain. We're calling it image depths, you know? We're calling it that. We're not saying, even just, the background of this shot, no. This is the file name of this. We are breaking that fourth wall and we are making our home in it, you know? This is where we are. This is what's happening. And even then, it's still, even then, all of those emotions that we were talking about before, we haven't gotten to this part quite yet, but even, I think the ultimate thesis of it will be that even though, once again, all of that stuff we were talking about before, this is fiction. We're talking about a video game. We're talking about a fictional video game. I'm sure that the thesis by the end of this will be, and it is still important that we feel these emotions. It's still beautiful that this happens, right? Fictional or no, we have a great time together, and that's what's really important. The next line is, Ralsei smoking, bet it's not a cigarette. This is, of course, referencing a pretty popular meme within the Deltarune community. I haven't seen it in a while, but it was popular, at least for a bit there, of Ralsei smoking weed. This pretty popular meme here of editing Ralsei so that they're smoking weed. Continuing on from the previous, the previous line, I think this is a good way of doing it. We're getting further each time. The first line of this pre-chorus, oh fuck it's spammed in with a French baguette, is reminding you that it's silly, right? It's reminding you that, hey, we're silly here. And even though it's silly, yes, the final line of this will be tying this all together, just so everybody's aware. First line of this being reminding you that all of this happens, we're silly. Oh fuck it's Spampton with the French baguette. Reminding you, weird root, bad stuff happening, intense. He's silly, he has a French baguette. Second line reminding you, not only is it silly, this is a video game. This is fiction, and we're all aware of this. And the suspension of disbelief is beautiful. That we all choose to still treat this with respect, with love, with all of the emotions that Deltarune gives us, even though it is fiction. And that's wonderful. The next line here, Ralsei smoking, bet it's not a cigarette, is reminding this that not only are we talking about a video game, we're also talking about the impact that video game has had on people. There's a fandom within this game. This is explicitly referring to something that is not within the game. It's referring to a fandom meme. This is stuff that the fans created, that we, as fans of Deltarune, have done. This is our influence on this. We are influencing we're not only influenced by the game itself, but by each other. We iterate on each other. It's not just the other characters in the game that are impacting us. It's other people around us. We can make our own thrash machine if we all band together. What is a fandom if not a thrash machine? It's truly... It writes itself. It writes itself. It's our powers combined. Because, I mean, we were talking, like, that first verse was more so... That was talking about, like, Chris and the impact on Chris's life. This pre-chorus, we zoom out. We zoom out of that, and we are talking about our lives. It recontextualizes the first one as not just being about Chris, because Chris is mentioned within it. Chris wouldn't be influencing themselves, though that is true, you can influence yourself. It's recontextualizing that as being about Chris's impact on our lives, of these characters not only impacts on each other, but on us, on our lives, as fans of Deltarune. And continuing on from that, this last line ties it all together. I hope it's something that you don't forget. Of course, for context, this is a line referring to the original song Cadmium Colors that this is a parody of. Reminder that we are analyzing a Deltarune parody of Kasane Teta song by Jamie Page. This is Deltarune Colors, parody of the Cadmium Colors. I hope it's something that you don't forget. But now we've capitalized don't forget. We are referring to the don't forget motif within Deltarune. This is an important thing within that. And also, it's talking about, I hope that this has an impact on you. I hope that this influences you. I hope you don't forget the good times you've had, the bad times, whatever it is that you had. I hope you do not forget it, and that you allow it to influence you. You allow it to change you. You allow yourself to grow from it, to realize what you like, what you dislike. You are having yourself a good time, whatever it is, and it is beautiful. As I said, when I looked ahead, I was like, oh my god, that last line genuinely does tie this together. Now the chorus. Deltarune Chris is non-binary. That's the first line there. Which is true. If you refer to the music video, you do see for the image of this, we are looking at an image of the Deltarune wiki page, featuring one of something simultaneously very funny and very sad, which is the pronouns section of Chris's page, being they, them, followed by a bajillion sources, because people sort of refuse to think that Chris is a they, them sometimes. Because people are normal about non-binary people. We are talking about them out of here, right? We're talking about them we're still in that, outside sphere. Like, we're calling them Deltarune Chris, right? If you were in the game Deltarune, if we were on a Watsonian level, nobody's going to tell Chris, hey, it's Deltarune Chris, right? You're not going to refer to them as that, because that would be weird. Right? You don't know that you're in Deltarune. That's just Chris. It's also sort of implied that everybody would be Deltarune then, you know? So we're saying Deltarune Chris is non-binary. We're talking about this character, we're talking about... I mean, Chris being non-binary does mean a lot to me as a non-binary person myself. It's pretty cool and epic. I think that this might just be referring to that very thing. However, I may be biased on that, but something beautiful about analysis like this, and looking at other people's analysis, is seeing what appeals to them in particular. Because different people find different things more prominent, and of course their biases play into that. I do think that that is something that I'm going with here, and I am acknowledging it, but once again, I want to get through the song, so I will just stick with my initial assumption here, that this could be talking about the impact, the reasons we care about them, the things that are important about these characters. Chris is non-binary, and that's really fucking epic, you know? This is a major character, this is the main character of an incredibly popular video game, and they are non-binary. That fucking means a lot to me, and that's really epic. I'm saying a lot of epic, I'm gonna move on to the next line. That's how I know that I need to move on to the next line, is if I keep repeating, that's pretty epic. That's not gonna make it to the final draft of the thesis. The second line, Deltarune Susie is a girl that's mean. Referring, of course, to Susie's character arc. When you first meet Susie, she's rather rude, she's a bully, she beats Chris up, she threatens people, She joins up with the bad guys. But all of this is because she's scared, right? Because she's ostracized, because people expect this of her, and so she decides to act that way, right? She leans into being a bad guy, because it's all that she knows. And I think, and Susie, once again, you're filled with the power of Mean Girls, yeah. You're filled with the power of Mean Girls. I know that is a line in the thing. That is truly the fandom. I don't know anybody whose favorite character isn't Susie. You know? Everybody loves Susie. She is fucking awesome. And it is interesting, this is referring to calling her a mean girl. I don't know if I would still call her that. She does have rude elements still. She is rude. She's a rude buster. She's not really mean anymore, though. Interesting to think about that as well, to continue with the next line. Deltarune Rosie has a hat, I think. Very interesting, because we're suddenly shifting into first person. I mean, they did have I hope it's something that you don't forget before, actually. My bad on that, there is. And I spend my hours... The first thing is first person, my bad. But because the I think feels so much more personal than the previous. I do think that it is interesting going through this. My previous analysis about, like, the I. Whether that refers to a fellow fan, a fellow player, or you yourself the player, or even Chris themselves. I think those are interesting angles to analyze these all of, and I would like to go through and analyze them in each different direction and see how that works, but I won't because I only have like 30 minutes left to stream. It is very interesting. Deltarune Rosie has a hat, I think. Once again, similar to how Susie is only mean in the first chapter. It is interesting because Rosie, once again, this is before chapter 5, Rosie only has the hat in the first chapter. There is the question of, does that imply then that the first line, Deltarune Chris is non-binary, means that Chris is only non-binary in the first chapter? Or implying that at some point that will change? I don't think so. I think that was an unintentional parallel on the author's part. However, this could be... How about... We could think of it like this. I think that this POV that we're suddenly getting here is the POV of somebody who's experiencing Deltarune now for the first time, right? This is somebody... These are, the most basic facts about these characters, right? If you haven't played too far into Deltarune, right? You're only, a little bit in, and somebody stops you and asks, hey, tell me about the characters, and you don't know too much. You're like, okay, well, Chris is non-binary, Susie is mean, and Rosie has a hat, I think. That's the sort of vibe that these lines give off. This isn't a deep analysis. These lines here, these are the most basic interpretations of them. These are chapter 1 basic. What this is implying is that fans of Deltarune, no matter how deep into it they are, no matter whether you're one of the people doing the huge conspiracy theories, if you're going super deep, not conspiracy, but if you're going deep into the lore, no matter what level of fan you are, even if you're a very basic fan who doesn't know too much, you are still a fan of Deltarune, and it is still impacting you. Maybe not to the extent of other people, but it's still impacting you, and that's beautiful, and that's wonderful. That's the impact that media has on people. The song is called Deltarune Colors, because Deltarune colors you. It influences you. That's what the colors means. It's not a reference to... It's not just because it's cadmium colors. And cadmium and Deltarune have the same amount of syllables. And every time it says Deltarune in the chorus, that's just when it says cadmium. But they just replaced cadmium with Deltarune. Maybe that's a part of it. But I think that's a good... That's real. That's true. Deltarune colors you. It influences you. It's power. That's the power that media has on us. Whether you know everything or you barely know anything. If the only things you know are Deltarune Chris is non-binary, Deltarune Susie is a girl that's mean, Deltarune Ralsei has a hat, I think, it has still impacted you. And of course, the final line of this refrain here is just Deltarune Lancer Spamton Queen Birdley. Which I think, it's in a different order. This is Spamton Queen, whereas the first line says Queen Spamton. However, I don't know if that is... That could be a syllables thing, that could be a how it sounds thing. It is interesting to put Spamton in front of Queen here. But once again, these are like incredibly basic main characters here. Of course, leaving out the main ones who we just listed. Interestingly, though, we are leaving out Noelle. I wonder if this is, once again, a representation of more casual fans. In that, like, you know, non-binary, girl that's mean hat, I think. Like, those are whatever. Right? Like, these are, like, the basic facts about these characters. I wonder if the fact that Spamton is listed before Queen, and the fact that Noelle is not present, is a commentary, because this has fully gone meta now, on fans who are misogynistic, to be blunt. And, like, people ignoring Noelle's significance or diminishing her, and now putting Spamton before Queen, which I do think... I've seen, like, I haven't seen anybody diminishing Noelle personally. I've heard people talking about people diminishing Noelle. I have for sure seen people putting Spamton above Queen in terms of relevance when that is not accurate. Ads are happening in a minute, by the way. Save your files, fix your posture, yada yada. Take care of yourself. But I do wonder if that's a commentary on that. Or at least acknowledging that. And maybe even it's still saying, these people exist. They may not have it together. They may not have it to an extended level that other people do. They may not be, fully into it. The way that people who are more aware of all of the characters, people who aren't blinded by just thinking about the men or whatever. I broke stream with analysis. Uh-oh. Am I back? I'm back. Hi. Anyway, I don't know where y'all lost me. I'm just gonna continue. Those people, however annoying they may be, although that is my personal opinion slipping in here, they are still fans and they are still being impacted by it. Continuing on with this analysis, it is interesting, once again we're going into first person here. Getting into that with, like, the ambiguous I being either player, yourself player, other person player, or Chris. I can make a fountain with a single cleave. Like, oh shit. Admittedly, this is something that only Chris does. I don't believe we, like, are in control when Chris does this in chapter 4. When it's, like, visibly whatever, because the other moments, Chris is doing it by themselves, right? Now, some people do, less distinguish. People who, as before stated, have less realization of the distinction between Chris and the player. Chris and the soul. People whose knowledge of Deltarune honestly probably doesn't even include that. Chris is non-binary, if I'm gonna be honest. There's some of those people that need they need all those citations on the pronouns on Chris's wiki page. But, you know. If I'm being a bit salty over here, I'm getting sassy with it now. But I can make a fountain with a single cleave, steal a computer love. I'm just gonna do the rest of this here. You know what, I'll just do like these 3 lines. I'm gonna leave the last 2. I can make a fountain with a single cleave, steal a computer from the library, dodge the water's turn like you won't believe. Like, these are all things that you do within the game. The fountain is specifically Chris rather than the player, but the computer is something that both of you do. That's something you do in the overworld, right? That's what you're doing here. And then, so it's like, it's sort of both of you, but then dodging the water? That's something that both of you, that's something that, that only the player is doing. Because that's the soul is dodging. Right? The soul is dodging. Not Chris. So that is interesting. The I is shifting throughout this chorus. It goes from I, meaning Chris, to I'm ambiguously between Chris and the player, to finally I, meaning exclusively the player. Very interesting, to borrow a phrase from a mysterious off-screen figure. Alright, interesting, yeah. I'm gonna continue going on instead of figuring that puzzle out. I'll leave some of these puzzles for you to analyze yourself. And it's not because I want to keep going through and getting as many done as I can, getting as much done as I can here. Next line here, I'm gonna do these 2 together here. Find a new world that can set you free. How could anybody fight the prophecy? Really interesting here. Just find a new world that can set you free. That is a line originally from Cadmium Colors, however it does affect... I think the lines that they chose to keep the same are ones that do in fact work for Deltarune. So I'm going to treat them as though they are original, you know, that they are intended, because they are intended for the song. That's why they're here. However, even though if that wasn't their original intent, that is how they're being presented to us here. But find a new world that can set you free. Of course, I believe referring to Dark Worlds is the very obvious thing there. Once again, that's even not really, interestingly enough, that's neither really the player nor Chris finding the worlds. Sort of like a combination of both Chris and Susie. I don't know, if finding something is difficult for me to fully be like... It's hard for me, the idea of finding something. I guess you can find stuff. It doesn't necessarily, like, say, like, you're finding it for the first time. You can find something, and that be, like, everybody else has found it, but now you've found it. So yeah, that's finding various stuff here. Like, discovering the cool new worlds. Anything new chances to explore. So in that sense, that is both Chris and the player. Finding these things, finding these dark worlds, exploring them, that can set you free. There is the whole idea of, like, the freedom motif and all that. There's also the idea of, like, Chris and the soul, Chris's autonomy, the whole question of that. Is Chris truly free? Is Chris being manipulated by forces other than the soul? Is Chris willingly doing this? What's up with Chris? That's veering a little bit too much into theories for my liking. I'll just leave that at that and let y'all interpret that how you will. But yeah, there's that whole idea. And then there's how could anybody fight the prophecy, which I think is very, very interesting again here. Of just like, it's such a contrast to the previous line, right? Like, find a new world that can set you free. How could anybody fight the prophecy? It's sort of a moment of, like, realization, I think. That, like, this... is it even really freedom? If this prophecy is saying that that's not what's going to happen? Or even if the prophecy is saying that freedom, is that freedom even truly free because it's dictated by something else? I love those kinds of themes of, like, fate. That's one of my favorite things to, like, really wax poetic on. But once again, time limit. See any of the previous times I've talked about Romeo and Juliet for further analysis. That's your little footnote there at the bottom of the page. Then, continuing on, second verse here. I spend my hours doing alchemy. Insert from before. And now we have... So, the following bit is all entirely list of characters. I'm just gonna say, see my analysis of the first verse. I spend my hours doing alchemy. Tighten the night, annoying dog, undyne the bomb machine. Jigsaw, Joe Caddy, Wire Jackenstein. Doggy business manticore cybercity. Whitefish snail guy, dark century. Wait, shit, how does this line go? I'm trying to remember the syllables count. Whatever. Whitefish snail guy, dark sanctuary, Peepus, Clover, Jigsaw-ray. Lantern, Everyman, Newbert, Ribic, Bloxer, Lizard, C. Top Chef, Winglade, The Legend, Pop-Up, Mizzle, Dustpile, Head Happy. Ram, Rainy, Azriel, El Nina, Sweet. Ram, Rainy, Azriel, El Nina, Sweet. That is interesting. Like, the only thing that really sticks out to me here, as, like, big thing to point out, is that Everyman is listed. Everyman being, not really super... It's just like a little character that appears throughout, and is another thing that ties it to Undertale. I think this plays into previously mentioned themes of, like, Undertale stuff coming in, and more intense fandom speculation and theorizing. And that still being important. Because we've went through a whole bit there of, like, going back to a more surface level understanding, but it's reminding once again that, like, there is still stuff to analyze here. It's not just surface level stuff. There is stuff to be found. And then next, oh, isn't it funny changing Toby's tweets? Referring to, like, taking screenshots of whatever Toby is saying on Twitter, and then, like, using sort of, I guess, like a blackout poetry style. This is a meme. Blackout poetry style stuff to make him say different things. I think that might have been the origin of Deltarune tomorrow. Don't take my word on that. But yeah. That kind of thing. Which, once again, see what I said before about Ralsei smoking weed. This is a reference to a fandom meme, the fandom influence upon people. I spent a ton of time playing in Chapter 3. Okay, we are fully gone from Chris at this point. We are once again referring to player. Because we're calling it Chapter 3. And Chapter 3, of course, being the home, I suppose, of two of the most notoriously difficult fights, being Aram and the Knight. I mean, I didn't find Aram too hard, but I've seen a lot of people complaining about Aram. I mean, maybe you can go back. I don't remember the VOD. Maybe I struggled a lot on Aram, but I don't remember Aram being too hard. The Knight? I remember the Knight being hard. But explicitly going back here, I do think that even talking about more of, like, Chris stuff, this does overall have a tone of, like, talking about this from an outsider's POV, from a player's POV, rather than from a... We're sticking pretty Doyleist, less Watsonian, you know? God, those are my favorite terms. I use them all the time. You'll notice that. I just fucking love them. They're so good. And then, yeah, the next line. God, I wanna know the Knight's identity. Yeah, it's like we're sticking with the player. We're getting more into theory territory here. Less, basic stuff. Perhaps this is this song presents a story of somebody, like, starting off with a basic understanding, and then slowly learning more, right? Learning more about the characters, getting more invested in the story, trying to figure stuff out themselves. I think that's fully possible. I think that is a very interesting take on it. And I like that a lot. Continuing on. I think that something might be wrong with me. That is another line that is originally from Cadmium Colors. But that happening after talking about Chapter 3 in the Night, I think that does play into the whole obsession angle that some people have fallen into, of obsessing over the plot, of trying to figure out all the little details and what they all mean. I think that might be a bit of a warning to, like, hey, remember to, or maybe it's a bit of commiseration. Whatever it is, being like, hey, maybe I'm taking this a bit too seriously. It's fun. And I'm having a good time. And it's important to remember that. It's important to remember that it's fun and I'm having a good time. You know? Because sometimes you can get too in the weeds. I've been there. Not with Deltarune, but with other fandoms. Continuing on, we have a verse again, or a chorus rather. Let me take another drink of water. Deltarune Chris is non-binary. Deltarune Susie is a girl that's mean. Deltarune Ralsei has a hat, I think. Deltarune Lancer Spamped and Queen Birdly. Now, this next bit. Caught a great fever, Toby had a dream. Saw a cool ending, said he'd make it real. Practiced with the work that was quite esteemed. This, of course, going... Once again, we're in the meta world. We're in not even just the fandom world. We're talking about the story itself from this angle. We're talking about how and why Toby Fox, the real man, the guy who made this game, that we're all obsessed with, that we're all talking about here. We all know this story, right? We're all fans of Deltarune. We love Deltarune. This was made by a person. It's that human connection, you know? We can connect to other fans. We're not just connecting to other fans, we're connecting to the creator of the game. Right? This guy is sharing what he made with us. And we are influencing each other because of that, and that's wonderful. I guess I'm sort of implying the "and that's wonderful," whereas this is more so stating it as a matter of fact, but I think that is implied. Though maybe I am biased by that because that is my personal opinion, that it is a wonderful thing to experience and share the joy of creation and happiness and all that kind of stuff with other people. Then the next bit here, finishing up the chorus here. WD Gaster, what does it all mean? Rude to talk about someone who is listening. I sort of fucked up that last note there. But, you know, once again, theory time, baby. Maybe that's pretty interesting. Going back to the theory that this song is about somebody getting more and more deep into it, more into the fandom, more into theories and stuff. I think that that's a good angle, because going back to the first verse, the fact that December holidays sort of brushed over a little bit, like, I think that's part of it. It's like, you're at the beginning, you don't... She's just sort of a character who's sort of, like, mentioned offhandedly in Chapter 2. You don't really know how much to pay attention to her. You don't know how much she's going to be haunting the narrative. But then as you get more and more into it, as you allow the story to really resonate with you, December becomes such a prominent figure. When I said that I was gonna analyze this song, did y'all think I was serious? Because I was, in case you couldn't tell. Let me double check here. Next bit here. Baby, do you know what it's like to die? To see the sparkle fade from inside your eye. That is from Cadmium Colors. There's a whole thing there of, like, additional context of that being a reoccurring "Baby, do you know what I wanna hear? 'Cause you can say the words, make it oh so clear," being a reoccurring line throughout Jamie Page's work. That melody as well. Being like a reoccurring thing. That's the Jamie Page leitmotif. But keeping the lyrics from Cadmium Colors in here. Do you know what it's like to die, to see the sparkle fade from inside your eye? This is the bit here. I mentioned before that there was a section, a bridge, that was very Chris themed. This is that. And we are opening up the Chris-themed verse with "Baby, do you know what it's like to die, to see the sparkle fade from inside your eye?" I mean, I'm pretty sure Chris knows what it's like to have out-of-body experiences. That's pretty basic analysis at this point. Jesus Christ, I'm nearly at the end of stream. I might go a bit over to finish this. I'm gonna try not to get too deep into the weeds. I'm like pretty much done with this. I just gotta do the background. Fuck it. Let me make sure that I save. Here we go. And then let's go over to big screen, so I can dedicate full brain power to this. Deltarune Chris, obviously here, is non-binary, but also knows what it's like to die. They have died many a times in the course of you, the player, playing Deltarune. There's also, you know, Deltarune Chris seems rather... I don't think it's a stretch, and I don't think it's an unpopular opinion, nor do I think it's a surprise to anybody to say that they seem, if not suicidal, rather self-destructive. So what it's like to die could be more figurative, could be more literal. However you interpret that, for sure this is Chris talking about how they've died, you know? The suffering they've gone through, however literal that death is, they have felt it many a time before. And I feel like they're talking to the player that's controlling them. Sort of a You're making me die, and you are not experiencing the repercussions of it, but I am. Your choices are leading to my harm. Do you know what you are causing me? You know? Continuing from there. I can't remember what it's like to feel autonomy. Can't even feel it in the moments that you've left to me. Like, holy shit. Yeah, Chris. I mean, I feel like that really speaks for itself. We are enjoying these moments Chris doesn't get to. We're enjoying this game, we're experiencing this community. Chris does not have that. They have the Darkners. They have the Lightners. They are still going through a much more intense experience than we are. Maybe if we were experiencing what they were, like, firsthand, we would have a much different opinion on the events of Deltarune. However, we have that disconnect, and we cannot. That's not something that we can fully get, right? Continuing. You won't leave me be till the story is done. A predetermined fate that I can't outrun. Jesus fucking Christ, it's so fucking obvious, you know? This is all... I'm just gesturing at the text, like, hey, look, I don't need to analyze this part. It is so fucking blatant, right? You won't leave me be till the story's done. The resentment, that you are having a good time. Are you having a great time? Are you? Because I'm sure as fuck I am not. You're moving me around, you're puppeting me. All for what? To have a good time? Is my opinion not worth shit? You're forcing me down to continue this prophecy. Once again, I'm just, like, referring to the actual text of Deltarune here, though this is doing a good job of paralleling it, or of, like, even just getting it verbatim here. The connection between the player controlling Chris's actions and the prophecy controlling Chris's actions, you know? The whole thing of autonomy when fate is already sealed, right? But once again, this is a theme that I fucking love, and if I get started on it, I won't be able to stop. I have posts about Romeo and Juliet that I've talked about this on Tumblr. I'm sure you can find them if you are determined enough. If you're not, send me an ask on Tumblr and I'll talk about this later. Continuing out here. I keep a knife inside my pocket just for me. But any pain I cause you just comes back to me. I don't know. And then that's cut off. But yeah. I keep his knife inside my pocket just for me. Oh my god, there's so many ways to read that line. I mean, I mentioned before Chris's self-destructive tendencies. Both those and also, of course, the Dark Fountains, which, you know, you could also read as a form of self-destructive tendencies. Them being a way to hurt themselves, to progress in the prophecy, which could theoretically, likely, be a method of Chris hurting himself, as well as, you know, both emotionally and physically, yada yada. Once again, this is more into theory stuff, so whatever. I'm trying to stick with the text of it. But any pain I cause you just comes back to me, really reminiscent of, Chapter 3, I think, or 4, Weird Root. Whatever, when you're in Noelle's house, and you do the ring shit, and, like, Chris takes the soul out and beats the fuck out of it, but it's hurting Chris as well, you know? Anything, it may not like the soul, it may not like the player, it may not like that, but it is still hurting Chris. Chris is being hurt, no matter what. Even if they try to fight back, it still hurts them in the process. We have the Thorns enchantment on in Minecraft. Okay, next verse we get We are once again returning to an outsider POV here. I spend my hours doing alchemy. I mix my yellows and my pinks to make a shade of free, obsessing over hearing a motif, and hoping that S-poison ain't the death of me. Of course, the alchemy line again. I mix my yellows and my pinks to make a shade of free. Of course, referring to the yellow and pink, you know, like friend eye colors, Spampton glasses colors. Yellow and pink being a reoccurring thing there, and then to make a shade of free. Now this is, of course, like, adapted from the Cadmium Colors song. Like, I mix my yellows and my blues to make a shade of green. However, doing it like this to make a shade of free. Free obviously isn't a color. Makes me imagine shade as a less talking about, like, a color tint, and more so talking about shade as in, like, a ghost? An image? Plato's allegory of the cave, maybe? To make an illusion of freedom. Not quite freedom, but something that resembles it. Combining these things. Sorry, I forgot that I, like, sort of basically have pink and yellow eyes, and I just sort of, like, remembered that. What's up, bitches? I'm Friend Deltarune. Are they in the right order? I forget which eye is yellow and which is pink. Am I Friend, or is my fucking evil twin Pep? Is Pep Friend? God, I hope Pep isn't Friend. Anyway. Obsessing over hearing a motif. Once again, this song is about somebody getting super into Deltarune and it consuming them. Sort of like, you know, taking over their lives, obsessing over it, paying attention to these things that they didn't necessarily pay attention to before because it's getting an even bigger influence on their lives. And hoping that S-poison ain't the death of me. Once again, I feel the need to call attention to the original line in Cadmium Colors, which is, and hoping that this poison ain't the death of me. But turning it to S-poison, which is an item in Deltarune. We can analyze this by, I mean, there is the idea of, like, S-poison just being, like, I mean, you can only get S-poison if, like, you have stuff, and then it expires over the chapter, right? When the next chapter comes out, if you haven't used it, it turns into poison. Thinking of, like, maybe getting too in the weeds of, getting into the theories and stuff to pay attention to actually getting the game good? Like, actually making beneficial choices for your party? Maybe, if like, you have to use it? If you're in that sort of situation? Maybe. Next chorus, Deltarune Chris is my binary. Deltarune Susie is a girl that's mean. Deltarune Rossi has a hat, I think. Deltarune Lancer's Phantom Queen Burley. I can make a fountain with a single clear. Steal a computer from a library. Dodge the water stirring like you don't believe. Find a new world that can set you free. How can anybody fight the prophecy? Okay, and then we have the final verse here. The final bit. Driving in my car right after a beat. Sorry. That is the next line, but it's said to a different tune. I mean, it is similar. It's like, driving in my car right after a beer. It's to the Jamie Page motif. Which, originally, this is the, 'cause you can say the word, make it oh so clear. Which is the line that follows it. Driving in my car right after a beer, 'cause you can say the word, make it oh so clear. I believe this is a reference to, I've heard somebody do this before, I believe, of combining the Jamie Page motif with the Asgore meme Driving in My Car song. Once again, we're referring to fandom memes and their influence on us. Show that back. Refer back to Ralsei smoking weed. just searching for a sense of similarity to call upon a right. Fuck, I fucked the timing of that line. We're all just searching for a sense of similarity to call upon a writer's past and theorize endlessly. Once again, we're talking about the fandom here. Like, hey, we're all just searching for a sense of similarity. That is interesting, going back to the original song for a moment again. I don't want to do that too often, but, you know, here we are. The original line is, we're all just searching for a sense of solidarity. So this isn't a thing anymore. This isn't, like, fandom, like, bonding together. This is more so getting into, like, a sense of similarity, trying to find a connection between the different parts of the game to find something similar between them, so that you can theorize and draw conclusions. Maybe the stuff I was saying earlier wasn't accurate. Maybe the reason that all of those things are listed in those first couple of verses there, the reason that all of them are listed isn't because they're a sense of solidarity, they're a sense of community, but instead, because we're trying to find connections between things that don't have connections. In order to try and find something that makes sense of it, right? We're recontextualizing that bit. With these revelations about this being potentially a fan getting into it too deep, getting obsessed with all the theories and stuff. Trying to find things that connect the dots between things that don't necessarily have dots that need to connect. Or dots that, like, are supposed to be, you're supposed to go A to B, but you're looking at A and you're like, but what if it connects to X? Right? No one wants to leave questions unresolved, the answer that we seek within every song. Like, yeah, that's once again getting really deep into the theories here. Analyzing songs for the motifs as referenced earlier. Making sure, like, being like, oh, the freedom motif is in this song, what does that mean? Oh, the don't forget motif is in this song, what does that mean? What the characters have what motifs, what characters overlap? Using that to provide basis of like, oh, this is in this one, so maybe this character's related to this character. Which, I mean, I don't think is that too unwelcome of a theory, but that's sort of how motifs are, but adding additional meanings to motifs that aren't necessarily there, mayhaps. I kept a knife inside my pocket for the final day, but what's the point in prophesizing anyway? Once again, I think we're like, potentially switching back to Chris here, because we're calling back to the line about having a knife, which is something that Chris said. Unless we are, once again, talking about the player taking over Chris and experiencing the world as Chris, leaving a less of a gap between them than there is. That could be part of this, is like the player obsessing, losing the idea that they are a different person from Chris entirely, which causes Chris even more hurt. Maybe... This might be nothing, but it's a fun idea, it's a fun concept. This might be more of an AU than an actual thing, but I'll toss it out there. The idea of, like, the player's interpretation leading to, like, influence the world around them. Like, if the player thinks that they are Chris, then suddenly the connection between the player and Chris is a lot stronger. Like, whatever the player thinks happens. Right? If the player thinks that Deltarune Chris is non-binary, then they have to be. Which maybe isn't that bad. But Deltarune Susie is a girl that's mean. Maybe because the player sees Susie as this way. Because the player has these preconceptions about who the characters are, that's how they will always interpret them, because they're refusing to interpret them a different way. They're refusing to re-examine that. Maybe. Maybe. Abandoning that again for a moment, just like, I kept a knife inside my pocket for the final day, but what's the point in prophesizing anyway? I mean, I do really feel about that, like, because if things are predetermined, what's the point of just sort of writing that down? Because if they're predetermined, they're gonna happen anyway, so, like, what's the point of having the prophecy? If it's going to happen anyway, why be so obsessed with it? I've got too many colors for a shade of grey, and I'm the one who's free no matter what you say. That, of course, in the music video, drawing this shade of grey to the vessel. I really like that. I think that this last bit I do think is Chris being like, fuck you. No matter how you are interpreting my world, it's still mine. Whatever you do about it, I'm the one living it. It's my world. Maybe it's the opposite of what I was going off on a tangent about before. No matter how you interpret it, it's still going to be what it is. Fuck you. This is my world. I'm living in it. You're just watching. And you are controlling me on occasion. But fuck you still. That's the last line in it, by the way. We finished it. We finally finished the song. So, yeah. That song rules. Now, do I think that that was an intentional analysis? Do I think that all of that stuff was genuinely put in by the author? Well, not all of it, for sure, for sure. The list of characters, no, that's nothing. And then the parts that actually had some weight to them, like the Chris sections and stuff, that's just because I believe that the author of the song, the creators of the song, rather, are like, you know, drawing upon the themes within Deltarune already. And just going ahead and being like, hey, this rhymes and fits within the scheme of the song. Now granted, hey, maybe these people put all of that thought that I just did into it. The thing is, that doesn't matter. Because I had those thoughts while listening to it, and while talking about it anyway. Whether they intended them or not, we can still have this experience. And that's what's beautiful, I think, about media analysis. And interpretation, and all of that kind of thing. You know? This isn't even playing into... because they place different motifs from Deltarune within that song. I'm just looking at the lyrics here. And occasionally referencing the music video. It's just a fun little thing to do. Let's find somebody to raid. You know, when I started the stream today, I was like, maybe I shouldn't talk as much. My throat... like, it doesn't feel like scratchy, like being sick, but more so like, you know what, maybe I'll be a little quieter. I don't know if I need to rest my voice or anything. Didn't follow that. Once again, it doesn't feel like I'm sick. Just was like, maybe I should chill. Nope. No chill. No chill allowed. We're looking for somebody to raid here. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Okay. Who do I want to go for? Beep bop boop. How about... I'm torn between 3 people right now. Does anybody have an opinion? I'm looking at a couple. Sorry, a bug flew in front of my face and caught me off guard there. You know what? When in doubt, let's go for buttons. Let me, do these. What? Sorry that I did that twice. It did not pop up on my screen. There we go, and that's the other one. That first one there if you're subscribed, that second one there if you're not. Go ahead and grab one of those if you so wish. I have had a wonderful time. I'm glad that I could share that with you, chat. Both the song and the experience of talking about it. I had a lovely time. I will see you all on Thursday. I'll probably be playing Blueprints unless I feel really strongly about doing ArtFight stuff still. We'll see how it happens, but thank you guys for joining. Thank you guys for dealing with my beautiful stories. I will see you all on Thursday. Goodbye! Go Raid! Get out of here!